You're listening to Fanfiction Reader, where stories come alive through sound. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the tale.
Chapter 26 The Attraction of Eating Xiaodo, It's Time to Eat. Lai Ping's voice was heard from inside the house, and Chen Dao immediately returned to the house to have breakfast with Lai Ping and Chen Fei. Today's breakfast naturally couldn't be as sumptuous as last night, but compared with the past, it could be considered a luxury. In front of the three of them, there was a bowl of white rice. Although it seemed a bit bland, it was at least much better than the porridge they had eaten before. Chen Dao quickly finished the rice in his bowl, then stood up and said, "Mom, I'm going out to find someone to do something." Lai Ping nodded. Then Chen Dao left the house and went directly to Chen Dao's house. "Brother Dao is here. Come over and have dinner with us." Seeing Chen Dao coming in, he Quillian hurriedly and warmly invited Chen Dao to have dinner together. She had liked Chen Dao very much in the past, and she liked him even more now. After all, the secret recipe for raising white feathered chickens provided by Chen Dao made her family's life better. When Chen Dao brought home a large pile of food yesterday, he Quillian was completely stunned. Even though her family was the richest family in Chenjia village, they had never seen so much food. Not to mention that there are 50 kilograms of rice among these grains. With these foods, her man would no longer have to risk going into the mountains to hunt, and she would no longer have to worry all the time, fearing that something might happen to Chen Dao. For this reason, he Quillian was extremely enthusiastic towards Chen Dao. Despite Chen Dao's refusal, she directly pulled Chen Dao to sit at the dining table at her home. In other words, her family doesn't have a daughter, otherwise he Quillian would have considered becoming in-laws with Chen Dao. "No need, auntie. I've already had breakfast." Chen Dao, who was pressed down on a chair by he Quillian, waved his hands repeatedly to refuse. He Quillian said enthusiastically, "It won't hurt to eat a little more. Brother Dao will eat with your Uncle Chen." "It's really not necessary, auntie. I came here to discuss something with Uncle Chen." When he Quillian heard that something was wrong with Chen Dao, her expression immediately became serious, and she was about to pull Titan to the next room to avoid them. "Aunt, there is no need to avoid this matter." Chen Dao stopped he Quillian from avoiding him and said, "I came here to trouble Uncle Chen for something." "What's the matter?" Chen Dao asked. "My family plans to rebuild the house," Chen Dao said directly. "During the reconstruction period, we may need to stay at Uncle Chen's house for a while." "I don't know, your family is going to renovate the house? That's a good thing." Before Chen Dao could finish, he Quillian agreed immediately. "We still have 2 vacant rooms. You, your mother, and Xiaofai can come and stay anytime." After that, he Quillian asked again, "Do you need your uncle to come over and help?" "Need not." Chen Dao said, "I can find enough manpower." "That won't work." He Quillian shook her head and said, "Your uncle must go over to help. You are the only male in your family, and those people in the village will inevitably look down on you, be cunning and sly, and not work hard. Your uncle must be there to keep them in check." Chen Dao thought about it and it seemed to make sense, so we nodded and said, "Then I'll trouble you, uncle." "No trouble." Chen Dao waved his hand. He was happy to help Chen Dao. So the matter was settled. As for the remuneration, Chen Dao did not mention it. Even if he mentioned it, no one would accept it, so it was better not to mention it. After politely declining he Quillian's invitation for breakfast, Chen Dao left the Chen family and came to a dilapidated house. This house is not much better than Chen Dao's house. Even the door seems to be shaky, as if it will be blown down by the strong wind at any time. From his original body's memory, Chen Dao knew that this was the home of Chen Cheng, one of the young men who helped yesterday. During the trip to the county town yesterday, the person who impressed Chen Dao the most was Chen Cheng. Chen Cheng was not only tall and strong, but also very enthusiastic in his work. Most importantly, through the memory of his original body, Chen Dao knew clearly that Chen Cheng's family was one of the most difficult families in the village. As long as he was willing to give him food, Chen Cheng would surely be willing to help his family with work. Thinking this in his mind, Chen Dao walked forward and knocked on the door. "Who is it?" A somewhat muffled female voice came from the room. Chen Dao immediately responded, "I am Chen Dao from Chen Ping's family. Please open the door, auntie." Squeak. The old door opened, revealing a woman with a slightly hunched figure behind the door. The woman's face was full of wrinkles, like traces of suffering, and she looked like a 60-year-old grandmother. But Chen Dao knew that the woman in front of him, named Tian, was only about 40 years old. A 40-year-old looks like a 60-year-old. This is the norm in this world and the most true portrayal of the poor. "Is it Brother Dao?" Liu Yan looked at Chen Dao with her cloudy eyes and smiled kindly. "Come in quickly, it's cold outside." "Okay, Aunt Liu." After stepping through the door, Chen Dao looked around, but saw that there was nothing else in the front yard except a well. Liu Yan must have been drawing water just now, and there was a wooden barrel full of water next to the well. "Mom, who's here?" But at this moment, a burly figure walked out of the house. It was Chen Cheng. "Brother Dao?" Chen Cheng's eyes lit up when he saw Chen Dao. "Why are you here?" "I need your help with something. Let's talk inside." It was too cold outside, so Chen Cheng hurriedly led Chen Dao into the house. As for Liu Yan, she went to the kitchen separated by a wall to boil a cup of water for Chen Dao. This is the advantage of living at the foot of the vast mountain. The villagers of Chenjia village have no shortage of firewood and can boil water to entertain guests. If they were in other villages, they would probably have to save even the firewood to boil water. "Brother Dao, what do you need my help with?" After entering the house, Chen Cheng immediately asked, "Do you need us to escort you into the city?" "No." Shen Dao shook his head and said, "I plan to ask you to help build a house." "Build a house? No problem," Shen Cheng said without hesitation. "Brother Dao, if you have any problem, I will definitely help you. Building a house is nothing more than doing some physical work, and what Chen Cheng has the most is strength." Thinking of Chen Dao's good deeds, he is naturally willing to help Chen Dao. "Brother Cheng, please listen to me first," Shen Dao said. "For helping to build the house this time, I may not be able to pay you like I did yesterday. I can only provide you with meals every day, you see, and provide meals?" Shen Cheng, who had originally planned to help Chen Dao by with the work, suddenly brightened up his eyes. At the same time, Shen Shi and Chen Mu from the next room also rushed over, looked at Chen Dao with burning eyes and said, "Brother Dao, do I really get food if I help you build a house?" Facing the three people's scorching gazes, Chen Dao couldn't help but be stunned. He still underestimated the appeal of eating to the villagers of Chenjia village. Just the words providing meals made the three adult men in Chen Cheng's family behave like this. The appeal of this meal is comparable to the high salary in the previous life. It may even be better. Chapter 27 The Heat in My Heart. Brother Dao, do you really provide meals? Brother Dao, please speak up. Does helping your family with work really include food? Shenqi and Chen Mu asked anxiously. It's no wonder that they are so anxious, because eating is really too important to them. If they could get meals by helping Chen Dao work, then they could eat at Chen Dao's house. This would reduce the family's food consumption, which was undoubtedly an extremely important thing for Chen Cheng's family whose food reserves had run out. Facing the anxious gazes of the three people, Chen Dao nodded. Food is provided. After getting a positive answer, Shen Cheng and the other two had a burning light in their eyes. After looking at each other, Chen Shi spoke first. Brother Dao, can my third brother and I also go to your house to help? Shen Mu also scratched his head a little embarrassedly and said, Don't worry, Dayar. Although we are not as strong as your eldest brother, we are very dedicated to our work and will definitely help you fix your house. Shen Dao looked at Chen Mu and Chen Shi. The two men had the standard body shape of the poor masses, a little thin and not as strong as Chen Cheng, but they should have no problem doing some heavy work. So Chen Dao nodded and said, Okay. Very good. Shen Cheng and the other two were so excited that they almost jumped up and danced. Liu Yan, who was boiling water in the kitchen next door, also had a smile on her face. It was undoubtedly a great joy for this poor family that her three sons could find jobs and eat at Chen Dao's house. In this way, the family stored food could be used to feed the children. Brother Dao, when do we start working? Shen Shi asked impatiently. No hurry. Shen Dao replied. I still need to find some help, and I can't start work until tomorrow. You can just come over tomorrow morning. Okay. Shen Cheng assured him seriously. Don't worry, Dayar. We will definitely come to your house on time to help you tomorrow. Then I'll leave first. Without waiting for Liu Yan to bring hot water, Chen Dao left Chen Cheng's house and went to ask Chen Si and Chen Jiang for help. Chen Si and Chen Jiang's families were not as poor as Chen Cheng's, but after hearing that Chen Dao was willing to provide them with meals, they still agreed. At this point, the 5 people who were building the house had been recruited, and Chen Dao also returned home to discuss with Lai Ping about temporarily moving into the Chen family's home. Moving to Chen's house? That's great. After listening to Chen Dao's story, Lai Ping nodded. This world is just like ancient China, with strict separation between men and women, but it is only limited to wealthy families. Poor families would not consider so much. It is a simple truth. How can they have the time to consider these things when they can't even get enough food to eat? Therefore, after hearing Chen Dao say that he wanted to live at Chen's house for a while, Lai Ping hesitated for a moment and then agreed. So Chen Dao's family started the relocation, moving all the useful items at home to Chen's house. Of course, the most important thing was to move the family's most important assets, food and chickens raised in the front yard. The next day, before it was fully light, Chen Da opened his eyes. After waking up Chen Shi and Chen Mu next to them, the 3 of them walked out of the house together. It's really cold today. Chen Mu wrapped his clothes tightly around himself, feeling the biting cold wind, and his face was almost frozen. However, the coldness on his body could not reduce the passion in Chen Mu's heart at all. He had already begun to imagine the days when he could have a full meal at Chen Dao's home. Hurry up, don't waste time, Shen Cheng said. Brother Dao is willing to give us enough food to eat. We can't delay Brother Dao's business. Hearing this, Chen Mu and Chen Shi hurriedly quickened their pace and headed for Chen Dao's home. Because the distance was not far, the three of them quickly saw Chen Dao's house. At this time, Chen Si and Chen Jiang were standing in front of the door. Brother Cheng, you are here too? When Chen Jiang and Chen Si saw Chen Cheng and the other two, they hurried forward to greet them. Chen Cheng scratched his head and said with a simple smile, Brother Dao said he would provide meals, so the three of us brothers came to help. After that, Chen Cheng asked again, Are you two here to help too? Certainly. Chen Jiang nodded, then looked at Chen Dao's house and said, Brother Dao's house really needs to be rebuilt. It's really hard to survive the winter in such a dilapidated house. As soon as these words were spoken, Chen Cheng and the other two fell silent. The situation of their house was no different from that of Chen Dao's. It was not so bad now, but when winter came, it would probably be even more difficult to endure. You guys came so early? But at this moment, a voice came from behind them. Shen Dao and Chen Dao walked over side by side, looking surprised, as if they had not expected these 5 people to be so enthusiastic. It's getting late. Shen Cheng smiled naively and said, The sun is about to rise, Dao. Shall we start working now? No hurry, eat first. When Chen Dao said this, the eyes of Chen Cheng and the other two suddenly lit up. They thought Dao was really honest. He hadn't even done the work yet, but he was already eating. Chen Si and Chen Jiang also looked expectant. Although their desire to eat was not as strong as Chen Cheng and the other two, it was good to save some food at home. Dinner is here. At this time, Lai Ping and He Qiuilian came over carrying a large wooden barrel, which was full of mushy food, steaming in the cold weather. It smells so good. Chen Shi couldn't help but touch his lower abdomen. The aroma of the food made him swallow involuntarily. Chen Cheng's abdomen made a rumbling sound. He was a strong man and ate a lot, but because of his family's difficult situation, he hadn't had a full meal in a long time. When he smelled the fragrance of the batter, he suddenly felt hungry. Come over and eat. Hearing the noise, Lai Ping smiled and took out bowls to serve rice to everyone. The meal made from sorghum flour mixed with rice bran was certainly not delicious, and was even a bit irritating to the throat, but it was already a rare food for Chen Cheng and his companions. Chen Cheng took the bowl and drank it all in one gulp. He then said a little embarrassedly, Auntie, can you give me another bowl? Eat as much as you want. Shen Dao said, but one thing you have to remember is that you can only eat it here and cannot take it home. Given the difficult situation at Chen Cheng's home, it was difficult to guarantee that they would not secretly bring food home, so Chen Dao still needed to take precautions in advance. Thank you, Brother Dao. Chen Cheng hastily assured. Don't worry, Dayar, we will definitely not take it home. Shen Shi and Chen Mu also made a promise, saying that they would never do such immoral things. As for Chen Si and Chen Jiang, there is no need to worry about the two of them. The situation at their home is relatively good, and they would not do something like secretly bringing food back home. What's more, with Chen Dao watching nearby, no one dared to do such a thing. P.S. Please give a good review and send some free gifts. Thank you. Chapter 28. The villagers are watching. Eat more, Cheng brother, so you will have the strength to work later. Lai Ping smiled and added another bowl to Chen Cheng. Chen Cheng took the bowl and gulped it down in one gulp. Another bowl, another bowl, another bowl. Chen Cheng had a huge appetite. He ate nearly half of a large bucket of rice porridge by himself before putting down his bowl with a feeling of being unsatisfied. In fact, he could have eaten some more, but the porridge in the wooden barrel was almost gone. He couldn't ask Lai Ping and He Qiuilian to cook more, right? Although he didn't eat enough, Chen Cheng was already very satisfied. He couldn't eat like that at home. Brother Cheng, your big belly, Chen Da said half-jokingly. I don't know how your mother raised you. Everyone nodded when they heard this. Shen Cheng's appetite was extremely large. It was hard to imagine how Liu Yan, a widow, could raise him and 5 other children to this day. Hey hey! Chen Cheng smiled innocently, not caring about Chen Dao's teasing. Instead, he turned to Chen Dao and said, Brother Dao, now that we're full, shall we start working? It was a rare opportunity for Chen Cheng to eat until he was 70% full. He now felt full of energy and couldn't wait to start working. Brother Dao, we are full too, please arrange some work for us. The brothers Chen Shi and Chen Mu also spoke up and showed a positive attitude. You have to be proactive. You have finally found a job that can support you with food. If you lose it because of laziness, the loss will be huge. Chen Dao took a look at his dilapidated house and said, "Let's tear down the house first. Save the good wood for building a new house, and use the bad wood as firewood." "Good." Everyone answered in unison and then started to work. Chen Dao quietly watched the 5 busy people for a while, then said to Chen Da, "Uncle, please help me keep an eye on it. I'm going to go back and do something." "Go ahead." Chen Da nodded. When I returned to Chen Da's house, I saw the 2 little guys, Chen Fei and Chen Titan, playing with Xiao Hai in the front yard. Xiao Hai was running in front with a giggle, and the 2 little kids were chasing him from behind with a smile, as if they were tireless. Crossing the front yard, Chen Dao entered the room where he was staying temporarily, took out the sumac flowers and chicken heart grass, mixed them together, and mashed them into juice, then went to the front yard with the bowl of juice to feed the chickens. Chen Dao first placed the bowl between the 2 chicken coops. After the 6 chickens had finished the juice in the bowl, he sprinkled some food beside the chicken coop and let the 6 white-feathered chickens eat. Then Chen Dao waved to Xiao Hai. "Xiao Hai, come here." Upon hearing Chen Dao's voice, Xiao Hai immediately abandoned his 2 little playmates, ran towards Chen Dao happily, and stroked Chen Dao's calves with the feathers on his neck. Brother Dao tilde Chen Fei and Chen Titan also ran over to greet Chen Dao. "Zhou Fei Titan." Chen Dao smiled and patted the 2 children's heads. "Go play. Brother has something to do." The 2 children ran away quickly. Chen Dao took out a pound of sorghum and a pound of wheat bran from the house to feed Xiao Hai. Cluck cluck cluck. Xiao Hai is also a gluttonous chicken. Once he gets food, he forgets about his owner and happily pecks at the old rice and the food scattered on the ground. When one has food, he forgets his master. Chen Dao smiled and shook his head, then walked to the chicken coop and observed the 2 eggs in it. Chen Dao had some understanding of the incubation time of eggs. Generally speaking, it takes about 20 days to hatch an egg. At this time, the 2 eggs in the chicken coop had only been incubated for 1 day. It was obviously impossible for any chicks to hatch. 20 days is still too long, and Chen Dao looked at the white-feathered chickens with yellow feathers in the chicken coop. According to his previous experience in upgrading their chickens, probably the day after tomorrow, all 6 chickens would be upgraded to yellow-feathered chickens. In this case, it would be somewhat unprofitable to hatch the eggs of white-feathered chickens. Instead of hatching white-feathered chicken eggs, it is better to wait until the white-feathered chickens advance to yellow-feathered chickens before hatching them. Thinking of this, Chen Dao immediately reached into the chicken coop and took out 2 eggs from under a hen. Just use these 2 eggs as a dinner snack. Chen Dao put 2 eggs in his room, planning to take them out and cook them as a snack in the evening. After that, he left the Chen family and returned to his own construction site to help with some work within his ability. The sun gradually rose higher and the weather became slightly warmer. Many villagers who heard the noise came out of their homes and came to Chen Dao's house to watch the excitement. "What is Dao doing? Why did they tear down the house?" an old man asked as he looked at Chen Dao and others who were busy. I know. A woman couldn't help gossiping and said, "Dao Jie's family is planning to tear down the house and rebuild it." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd watching could not help but gasp. How can Dao Jie's family afford to build a house when they can't even get enough food these days? With this money, we might as well buy more food instead of building a house. What if Brother Dao has too much food to eat? It's no wonder that the villagers were so shocked. It was just that building a house was too rare these days. When every household was unable to get enough food, building a house was not an urgent need for the villagers, no matter how shabby their house was. "You know nothing." The woman who had spoken earlier rolled her eyes and said, "Brother Dao's family doesn't lack food at all. I heard that Brother Cheng and his friends are given food to eat when they come to help, and they're guaranteed to keep themselves full. Free meals?" As soon as these words were spoken, all the villagers who were watching showed envious looks without exception. Does it really provide meals? And does it also ensure that you are full? Hiss! Did Daojar's family find gold? So rich. Brother Daojar's family is so rich. Not only do they provide meals, they even provide food for us to eat. That big-bellied man Chen Cheng, won't he make Daojar's family bankrupt? It's better to ask me for help than to ask the 3 Chen Cheng brothers. I eat much less than them. The onlookers' eyes were green with envy. In Chen Dao's opinion, a job that only provided a living was no different from exploiting labor. But in the eyes of the villagers, this job simply couldn't be better. They only need to do some hard work to have enough food every day and save a lot of food for the family. They would never dare to dream of such a good thing. For the villagers, strength is not worth anything as it can be restored by sleeping. But working for Chen Dao means they can really have enough to eat. Looking at Chen Cheng and others busy on the construction site, the villagers' eyes were full of envy, and they wished they could replace Chen Cheng. "No, I have to go ask Dao Jie if he needs any help." Chapter 29 Golden Feather Chicken and Blood Feather Chicken. A young man ran up to Chen Dao, who was carrying wood blocks, and asked in a flattering manner, "Brother Dao, do you need help building your house?" Well, Chen Dao took a look at this person and found his name from his original body's memory, Shen Xiaogu. "It's Brother Gu." Chen Dao smiled and said, "I don't need any help for now. If I need any help in the future, I will definitely look for you, Brother Gu, first." After hearing what Chen Dao said, Shen Xiaogu felt embarrassed to continue pestering him, and left with his head hung. As for the villagers who were watching, they had no intention of leaving. Instead, they watched the busy Chen Cheng and others with great interest, with envy on their faces. As the sun sets, Chen Cheng and others, who have been busy for the day, pile up the dismantled wood and then lean on the pile to wait for their meal. "I'm so tired." Shenchi wiped the sweat from his forehead. After a busy day, even a strong guy like him felt exhausted. Fortunately, he had a full meal in the morning, so he could still hold on. "I think it's okay." Chen Sheng grinned and said, "I had a full meal this morning, so I'm not particularly tired now." Shenshi, Shen Mu, Shen Si, Shen Jiang. A few people took a look at Chen Cheng's muscular body and agreed with what he said. With Chen Cheng's physique, this kind of physical work is a piece of cake for him, of course, on the premise that he can have enough food to eat. Dinner is here. Speaking of food, it's coming soon. Lai Ping and He Willian came over carrying a large wooden barrel. As they got closer, the unique aroma of food wafted out. Shen Cheng swallowed his saliva and his eyes lit up. "Come and eat." Lai Ping also knew that everyone must be very hungry after working all day, so she didn't waste any time, and directly took out bowls and served rice to everyone. Shen Cheng quickly took the bowl and ate the flour mixed with rice bran in the bowl in one gulp. Then he exhaled and said, "Comfortable." Shen Cheng's two younger brothers also swallowed the porridge in one gulp, like starving ghosts, and then handed the bowl to Lai Ping. "Aunt, please give me another bowl." "Good." Lai Ping smiled and served each of the three brothers a bowl. Although Chen Cheng and the other two are brothers from the same mother, their appetites are different. Even if Chen Shi and Chen Mu are very hungry, 3 bowls of rice will be enough for them. Chen Cheng was a well-deserved big-bellied man. He drank 8 bowls in a row before stopping. When he returned the bowl to Lai Ping, he smiled and said, "Thank you, Auntie." "You are welcome." Seeing that the 3 had finished eating, Lai Ping waved her hand and left with He Willian carrying the wooden barrel. After the 2 left, it was getting dark. Chen Dao immediately said to Chen Cheng and others, "That's all for today, let's all go home." "Let's go home." After having a full meal, Chen Cheng happily led his 2 younger brothers home. He seemed to be afraid that there would be no work tomorrow. As he walked away, he turned back and said to Chen Dao, "Brother Dao, we will come again tomorrow." Chen Dao nodded, and after watching them leave, he said to Chen Da, "Uncle, let's go back and eat." "Good." When they returned to Chen Da's home, Lai Ping and He Willian had already prepared dinner for the day. Chen Titan and Chen Fei were sitting at the table waiting for dinner to start. "You're back?" Seeing the 2 men coming back, He Willian hurriedly invited them to the table. After everyone took their seats, Chen Dao took a look at the food on the table. At this time, in front of each person on the table was a bowl of white rice and a pot of egg drop soup, which was made with the 2 eggs that Chen Dao had collected this morning. Shen Fei and Chen Titan looked at the egg drop soup frequently and swallowed their saliva. "Eat it all." Shen Dao smiled, picked up the white rice and started cooking. He Willian took out a few small bowls, distributed a bowl of egg drop soup to everyone, and let everyone eat with the egg drop soup. After the meal, the 2 women were cleaning up the dishes in the kitchen, while Chen Dao returned to his room first, lying on the bed with a blank look in his eyes. 2 days passed in a flash. When Chen Dao woke up that day, he received good news. The white feather chicken had successfully advanced. Standing next to the chicken coop in the front yard, Chen Dao looked at the 6 chickens in the cage with a happy expression. However, the 6 chickens in the chicken coop that were originally covered with white feathers had changed drastically. Their feathers had all turned into orange-yellow color, and their bodies had also become a little bigger. Chen Dao estimated that these 6 yellow-feathered chickens that had successfully advanced weighed at least 7-8 kilograms. In addition, Chen Dao's eyes also saw the advanced information of the yellow-feathered chicken. Yellow-feathered chickens, characteristics, short growth period, more meat production, short egg-laying cycle. Yellow-feathered chicken advanced Route 1, yellow-feathered chicken female and iron-clawed chicken male combined to produce a 50% chance of hatching a golden-feathered chicken. Golden-feathered chicken features long growth cycle, strong combat power, comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior. Yellow-feathered chicken advancement Route 2, feed blood-clotting fruit for 3 consecutive days to advance to blood-feathered chicken. Blood-feathered chicken features small size, Chicken meat and chicken blood can strengthen Kai and blood. Golden feathered chicken and blood feathered chicken. There was a gleam in Chen Dao's eyes. Just by looking at the introduction of these two chicken breeds, one could feel their power. The golden feather chicken is comparable to an 8th grade warrior and is even more powerful than Xiao Hai. Although the introduction of blood feather chicken was a bit vague, Chen Dao noticed its characteristic of strengthening Kai and blood. You know, the warriors in this world mainly practice Kai and blood. In order to enhance the Kai and blood, besides accumulating it bit by bit through practicing exercises, the fastest way is to nourish the Kai and blood with various precious medicinal materials and strengthen yourself. And those medicinal herbs that can help warriors strengthen their Kai and blood are all extremely expensive, beyond the reach even of wealthy families. That is to say, Chen Dao's eyes sparkled. The effect of the blood feather chicken is similar to those precious medicinal herbs that strengthen Kai and blood. It can even be comparable to the flesh and blood of monsters? Chen Dao's heart was aroused. Chicken can strengthen the blood, which means, is it similar to monsters? The monsters in this world are extremely precious, even more precious than medicinal herbs that strengthen Kai and blood. The reason is that monster meat is difficult to hunt, but the flesh and blood of monsters can help warriors strengthen their Kai and blood and shorten the time of training. The effect is even better than those precious medicinal herbs. Therefore, the monsters in this world are extremely precious. Whenever they appear, they will surely attract a large number of warriors to rush to buy them. The next level of advancement for the yellow-feathered chicken is the blood-feathered chicken, which is similar to a demon beast. The value of the blood-feathered chicken is probably no less than that of a demon beast. Chen Dao made his own judgment with certainty. Of course, Chen Dao also knew that due to its size, the value of a single blood-feather chicken could definitely not be compared with that of a monster. But the advantage of blood-feather chicken is that it is livestock and can be cultivated in batches. Unlike monsters, you don't need to rely on luck to encounter them, and sometimes you even have to sacrifice your life to hunt them. Chapter 30 Super High Egg Laying Rate Golden Feathered Chicken, Blood Feathered Chicken. Chen Dao kept repeating the names of these two breeds of chicken, and an extreme desire surged in his heart. The golden feathered chicken is comparable to an 8th grade warrior. If it can be cultivated, then one's own safety will be completely worry-free. After all, even in the county, the most powerful warrior is only of the 7th rank. Although the golden feathered chicken cannot defeat a 7th rank warrior, as long as there are enough of them, they can kill a 7th rank warrior by piling up. As for the blood feathered chicken, there is no need to say more. The blood feather chicken has the same function as a monster. As long as it can be cultivated and sold to the warriors in the county, Chen Dao will be able to make a fortune immediately. The situation at home will also change dramatically. Eating meat every meal will probably be possible immediately. Unfortunately, I have never heard of these two advanced materials. Chen Dao sighed. To reach the level of golden feather chicken, one needs iron claw chicken. Chen Dao had never even heard of this breed of chicken, let alone obtained it. As for the blood-clotting fruit needed for the blood feather chicken to advance, there is no such thing as blood-clotting fruit in the original body's memory. It seems I can only ask around next time I go into town. Chen Dao sighed and was about to go out, but he saw Lai Ping and He Qilian coming out of the kitchen carrying a wooden barrel. "Mom, Aunt, is the meal ready?" Chen Dao stopped and asked. "It's done." Lai Ping nodded, then frowned and said, Our food consumption has been quite high recently." Originally, Chen Dao estimated that asking someone to help build a house would only consume about 10 kilograms of food per day. But it was not until the construction of the house began that Lai Ping discovered that the food consumption was far greater than Chen Dao's estimation. Nowadays, the daily food consumption is more than 20 kilograms, which has caused the family's food reserves to be consumed at a doubling rate. "It's okay, Mom," Chen Dao said. "We still have plenty of food at home, so we won't run out of it in a short while." But Lai Ping was still a little worried and said, "If this continues, I'm afraid our family won't have enough food to last until the house is built." The food that Chen Dao brought back last time, in addition to white rice, included 450 kilograms of sorghum flour and rice bran. Based on the daily food consumption of 20 kilograms, it is impossible to last for a month. What's more, it's not just Chen Cheng and his 4 companions who need to consume food, but also the chickens raised at home. "Uncle Chen and I will go to the county town in a couple of days and bring back some food." "All right." Seeing that Chen Dao knew what was going on, Lai Ping put aside her worries, carried the wooden barrel, and went to the construction site with Chen Dao. On the construction site, Chen Cheng and his 5 companions plus Chen Dao, a total of 6 people, were sitting under a tree to avoid the cold wind. When they saw Chen Dao and his 3 companions coming with wooden barrels, Chen Cheng and his companions all showed anticipation in their eyes. Working in Chen Dao's house these few days were like living in heaven for Chen Cheng and the other two. In the past, they could only eat until they were 5 points full, or even 3 points full, but now they can eat until their bellies are full every day. The three Chen Cheng brothers wished they could live this kind of life forever. It's time to eat. At Lai Ping's shout, Chen Cheng and 4 others immediately stepped forward, took the bowls and started drinking. After finishing 8 bowls of porridge in a row, Chen Cheng couldn't wait to ask, "Brother Dao, are we going to start building the house today?" "Certainly." Shen Dao nodded. After a few days of busy work, the old house had been completely demolished, even the fence had been removed. Looking around, there was only a flat ground left. It was time to build a house. "Brother Dao," Shen Da asked aloud, "how are you going to build this house?" Shen Dao thought for a moment and replied, "The house doesn't need to be too big. 3 rooms and a kitchen will be enough. But it needs a front yard and a backyard. The backyard must be bigger." The 3-room layout is designed to allow Chen Fei, Lai Ping and Chen Dao to each have a room. As for the front yard and the backyard, they are naturally for raising chickens. Shen Dao knew that he would have more and more chickens in the future, so the yard for raising chickens had to be big enough. "I see." Shen Dao nodded and immediately made arrangements. "Brother Cheng, you are stronger. Come with me to cut wood, and the other 3 will be responsible for building the house." "No problem." Everyone agreed happily and started to get busy. Chen Da and Chen Cheng were responsible for cutting down trees, 1 was responsible for moving trees, and the remaining 3 were responsible for building houses. The whole construction site was full of enthusiasm. As the sun rose higher, many villagers came out of their homes and gathered not far away to watch the excitement. Is Dayajer's family going to start building a house? It must be. The original old house has been demolished, and now it's time to start building a new house. Dayar's family is really wealthy. I've seen the meals they provided to Chen Cheng and his men, and every meal was sorghum noodles. The 3 Chen Cheng brothers have also spent money. They eat sorghum noodles every day, and their lives are better than those of the landlords. It's a pity that Dayajer's family is no longer short of manpower. By the way, where does Brother Dao get so much food? Brother Dao is capable and can find food, unlike you who are idle all day long and just sit at home and wait for food. Amid the envious and admiring gazes of the villagers, Shen Dao returned to the Chen family's home and fell into deep thought as he looked at the 6 yellow-feathered chickens in the chicken coop. But at this moment, Chen Dao's eyes focused and he noticed the eggs under a hen. Shen Dao quickly reached into the cage, pushed the hen aside, and picked up all the eggs with a look of surprise on his face. "It has just advanced to a yellow-feathered chicken and it has laid 3 eggs? Shen Dao looked at the 3 eggs in his hand and was extremely surprised. He knew that yellow-feathered chickens laid a lot of eggs, but he didn't expect that yellow-feathered chickens were so powerful that they laid 3 eggs right after completing the advancement. Cluck, cluck, cluck. But at this moment, a hen in the cage began to cluck. Shen Dao looked over and saw the hen clucking for a while, and then a bright yellow egg rolled out from under the hen. "Good fellow." Shen Dao was completely shocked this time. The egg-laying frequency of this yellow-feathered chicken is really unusually high. It's been less than a day and 4 eggs have been laid. On average, each yellow-feathered hen lays 1 egg. If they continue to lay eggs at this frequency, won't our family never have to worry about having no eggs to eat in the future? Shen Dao looked delighted, but instead of putting the 4 eggs away, he put them back into the chicken coop. Yellow-feathered chickens lay eggs so frequently, will they hatch faster? Shen Dao stuffed the egg back under the hen while thinking about this question, and went back to the house to eat the breakfast that Lai Ping and He Quilian had already prepared. Chapter 31 Unscientific Hatching Speed. After breakfast, Shen Dao returned to the room, found all the copper coins and counted them. There are more than 500 copper coins in total. This amount of money is not enough to buy food. Do I have to sell some yellow-feathered chickens? Shen Dao couldn't help but have a headache. To be fair, he didn't really want to sell the yellow-feathered chickens, but hopes to keep these 6 yellow-feathered chickens and let them reproduce steadily at home. In this way, Shen Dao would not have to buy gray-feathered chickens from the city every time, and then go through 2 upgrades to get yellow-feathered chickens. But now the family's food is being consumed too quickly. If Chen Dao doesn't sell the yellow-feathered chickens, he really doesn't know where to raise the money to buy food in the city. I hope the yellow-feathered chickens' eggs can hatch soon. Shen Dao sighed softly and could only hope that the yellow-feathered chickens would hatch chicks faster. In a flash, another 3 days passed. The first thing Shen Dao did when he woke up in the morning was to check the chicken coop. The 4 yellow-feathered hens in the cage did not disappoint Shen Dao. They laid eggs at a very high frequency, laying an egg every day. Shen Dao did not take any of the eggs away, but left them in the cage and let the hens try to hatch them. Now, the first batch of eggs has been incubating for 5 days, and Chen Dao is eager to hatch new little yellow-feathered chickens, so that he can sell a few yellow-feathered chickens without any worries. I don't know if the hatching was successful today. Although he knew that the chances of successful hatching within 5 days were slim, Chen Dao still looked at the chicken coop seriously with a glimmer of hope. Huh! Chen Dao's gaze suddenly froze and a look of ecstasy gradually crept onto his face. In the chicken coop at this time, in addition to the 6 adult yellow-feathered chickens that were supposed to be there were 3 more furry little chicks. A little chick with orange-yellow feathers poked its head out to look around, its eyes seemingly filled with curiosity and surprise about the world. Shichichi. The other 2 chicks pecked at the broken eggshells to replenish their nutrition. Great! Hatching was successful. Chen Dao was both surprised and shocked. In just 5 days, 3 little chicks actually hatched. This was really unscientific. However, when Chen Dao thought that this was a world with extraordinary creatures such as warriors and monsters, he felt relieved. Besides, such a bizarre thing as traveling through time had already happened, so it didn't seem surprising that a chick hatched in 5 days. Chen Dao reached into the cage, scooped up the 3 chicks into his palm, and carefully identified the genders of the 3 chicks. It was finally confirmed that the 3 chicks were 2 hens and 1 rooster. With these 3 chicks, I can selectively sell a few adult yellow-feathered chickens. Chen Dao put the chicks back into the cage and went back into the house to get food to feed Xiao Hai and the yellow-feathered chickens in the cage. After feeding the chickens, Chen Dao had breakfast and went straight out to his own construction site. The construction site is still a scene of bustling activity. After several days of hard work by Chen Cheng and others, the foundation has been laid and the main body of the house is now being built. Not far from the construction site, there were groups of villagers watching the fun. The construction site of Chen Dao's family has now become the only place for villagers to watch the fun. Whenever the sun rises higher and the weather gets a little warmer, those villagers in the village who have no entertainment activities and cannot farm will come out of their homes and gather nearby to watch the fun. Of course, while watching the fun, they couldn't help but discuss a lot, and the most discussed topic was the meals that Chen Dao provided to Chen Cheng and other helpers. I came early today and saw the food Chen Cheng and his friends had. They really were full of sorghum noodles. Isn't this Dao brother too rich? He actually gave sorghum noodles to Chen Cheng and his big-bellied men. When I saw Dao Jer, his father thought he was not an ordinary person. I never thought his son would be so capable. I really want to work for Dao Jer's family. They only eat sorghum noodles every day, which even the landlords in the city can't afford. Yes, brother Dao is really capable. Aunt Lai can finally live a good life. With such a capable son, she can enjoy happiness in the future. Isn't it? I wish my son could be as capable as Dao Jer. Don't count on your lazy son who gets out of breath after working for half an hour on the farm. That is. Chen Dao ignored the villagers who were watching the fun, and went straight to Chen Da, who had just been carrying wood with Chen Cheng, and said straight to the point, "Uncle, let's stop working for a day tomorrow." Ah? Before Chen Da could say anything, Chen Cheng called out in surprise, "Brother Dao, are you not going to build a house? Is it because we eat too much? Can we eat less in the future?" It is no wonder that Chen Cheng reacted so strongly. The opportunity to work for Chen Dao was really too rare. During the few days that he worked for Chen Dao, Chen Cheng had one of the few good days where he could eat his fill every day. If Chen Dao stopped building the house, his good days would be gone forever. "Don't worry, brother." Chen Dao smiled and said, "It's just a one-day stoppage, it doesn't mean we won't build it anymore." Hearing this, Chen Cheng scratched his head and said a little embarrassedly, "I thought we ate too much, Dao. Your family doesn't have enough food." "Don't worry, brother Cheng. There's enough food at home." Chen Dao comforted Chen Cheng and then said to Chen Da, "Uncle, I plan to go to the city tomorrow." Chen Da nodded. Chen Dao had told him a few days ago that he was going to the city, so he was not surprised. He just asked, "Do you need us to come with you?" "Certainly." Chen Dao replied, "Not only you, but Chen Cheng and the others will also have to go together. After all, the road is not safe." Although Chen Dao had not left the village during this period, he knew that there were more and more refugees on the official road. A few days ago, some refugees even tried to enter Chenjia village. Fortunately, the village chief Chen He reacted immediately, and led the young and strong people in the village to drive away the refugees, preventing them from breaking into the village and causing chaos. "So brother Dao, you want us to follow you to the city?" Shen Cheng smiled innocently and said, "No problem. Diaj, whatever you say, we'll go there. I'll listen to you." Shen Cheng now has 100% trust in Chen Dao. In his opinion, Chen Dao is the best person to him in the entire Chenjia village and the only one who can provide him with enough food. "Then uncle, tell Zhong Jer and the others later, and we'll go into the city together tomorrow." Become After finishing the discussion, Chen Dao stayed on the construction site to work with Chen Da and others. Of course, with Chen Dao's frail body, there was only a limited amount he could do. The most he could do was help carry some lighter wood. Chapter 32 Testing Dinner is here. At sunset, Lai Ping and He Qiulian came over carrying rice buckets. As the aroma of food wafted over, Chen Cheng and others immediately stopped what they were doing and walked towards Lai Ping and the others. Even the villagers who were watching the fun nearby couldn't help swallowing. This sorghum flour tastes so delicious. A young man who was watching the fun sniffed the fragrance in the air and swallowed his saliva wildly. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he had eaten such a precious food as sorghum flour. Others also twitched their noses, as if they wanted to inhale all the fragrance in the air into their stomachs. Fuck it, I haven't eaten sorghum noodles in a long time. Me too. Chen Cheng and his fellow big-bellied men are so lucky. I want to eat sorghum noodles every day too. That sorghum flour contains rice bran, it must not taste good. Facing the envious gazes of the villagers, Chen Cheng and others came to the rice bucket, took the bowls handed over by Lai Ping and He Qiulian, and started eating in big mouthfuls. Chen Cheng was still the most active eater. After eating 8 bowls in a row, he returned the bowl to Lai Ping and let out a long sigh. Shen Jiang looked at Chen Dao and asked, "Brother Dao, are we going into the city tomorrow?" "Yes." Shen Jiang's eyes suddenly lit up when he got a positive answer. Shen Si also said happily, "It's good to go into the city." Shen Jiang and Shen Si were deeply impressed by the prosperity of the county town. They were particularly fond of it. If conditions allowed, they would have liked to go to the county town to play every day. "Look how happy you two are." Shen Da shook his head and said, "Let's all go back. Gather here tomorrow and go to the county town together." Soon all 5 of them left. Chen Dao returned to Chen Da's home with Chen Da, Lai Ping and He Qiulian. The meal prepared by Lai Ping and He Qiulian in advance had already been placed on Chen's dining table. Today's meal was very simple, with only 1 bowl of white rice per person. However, even white rice was a rare delicacy for everyone, so not only did they not show any disdain for it, but they gobbled it up voraciously. Only Chen Dao, looking at the white rice in the bowl, had no appetite at all. Chen Dao, who has lived in modern China for more than 20 years, has no appetite for the extremely monotonous food in front of him. However, Chen Dao also knew that he had to eat, otherwise he would not grow and would not have the strength, so he had to force himself to swallow the rice in the bowl. After dinner, the 2 children went back to the house to rest. Shen Da looked at Chen Dao and asked, "Brother Dao, are you going into the city to buy food tomorrow?" Shen Dao nodded, "Yes, uncle." Shen Da frowned and asked, "Do you still have money?" "There are still several hundred. What can you do with a few hundred copper coins?" Shen Da said, "The food in the county is so expensive now. Chen Dao's few hundred coins can buy dozens of kilograms of food at most, which is not enough. I'm going to sell some chickens." "Selling chickens?" Shen Da was stunned for a moment and said, "Don't you want to hatch more chickens?" "How can you hatch more chickens if you sell them?" "It has hatched successfully." Shen Dao smiled and said, "Today my chickens have successfully hatched 3 chicks." "What?" Shen Dao was stunned. He knew that Chen Dao had bred yellow feathered chickens. After all, Chen Dao's chickens were raised in his front yard. However, Chen Da had no intention of delving into the secret recipe of yellow feathered chickens. He was already content to get the secret recipe for breeding white feathered chickens, so he didn't even want the secret recipe for yellow feathered chickens. He also knew that the yellow feathered chickens raised by Chen Dao laid eggs very quickly and could lay 4 eggs a day. But what he never expected was, this egg will hatch so quickly. Although Chen Da is a hunter, he also knows that it takes a relatively long time to hatch eggs. For example, it takes at least 25 days to hatch a chick in the case of gray feathered chickens. The incubation time of Chen Dao's yellow feathered chicken is only 5 days at most. Hatching a batch of chicks in 5 days, this was something Chen Da had never heard of. "Is it really hatched?" Chen Da asked in disbelief. It wasn't that he didn't trust Chen Dao, but the fact that hatching could be successful in 5 days was simply too abnormal. "Really? Uncle, come with me." Chen Dao brought Chen Da to their own chicken coop in the front yard. With the candlelight coming from the house, they could just barely see 3 chicks in the coop keeping warm under the hen's wings. Seeing the scene, Chen Da finally believed what Chen Dao said. "It's incredible." Chen Da took a deep breath and said, "It only takes 5 days to hatch a batch of eggs." "Dao Jer, could it be that your chicken is a fairy chicken from heaven? How is that possible?" Chen Dao shook his head and laughed. He didn't think that Chen Dao was making a fuss. In fact, when he saw the 3 chicks in the morning, Chen Dao's performance was not much better than Chen Da's, and was even worse. After a long while, Chen Dakai calmed down the shock in his heart. He walked back to the house with Chen Dao and said in a low voice, "Brother Dao, Please do not reveal your method of raising yellow-feathered chickens to others, so as not to bring about a fatal disaster. Chen Da is very clear about the value of these yellow-feathered chickens. They lay eggs quickly and hatch quickly. It is not an exaggeration to say that such a chicken breed is worth a fortune. Once others know that Chen Dao has a method to cultivate this kind of chicken, I'm afraid that fatal disaster is imminent. Uncle, I know the seriousness of the matter. Chen Dao nodded and said, Uncle, do you want this method of raising yellow-feathered chickens? To be honest, I do want to. Chen Da said sincerely, this chicken is so magical, it only takes a few days to cultivate it and you can get extraordinary wealth. How could I not want it? After that, Chen Da said, but I'm not a greedy person. The method of raising white-feathered chickens is enough. As for the method of raising yellow-feathered chickens, you can keep it for yourself. Of course Chen Da wanted to obtain the method of breeding yellow-feathered chickens. After all, this method meant enormous wealth. However, compared with wealth, he cared more about Chen Dao's safety. Such a precious secret method, the more people know it, the greater the risk of it being leaked. Chen Da would never allow Chen Dao's family to be in danger because of him. Alright. Chen Dao looked at Chen Da deeply. This was also a test for Chen Da. He wanted to know whether Chen Da could maintain his kindness towards his family in front of the yellow-feathered chicken. The result of this test undoubtedly made Chen Dao very satisfied. Chen Da is still the same Chen Da. His kindness towards his family comes from the heart and will not change because of any interests, even if that interest is enough to make his family rich and live like a landlord. Then I'll go back and rest first. Go! Remember, don't tell anyone about the yellow-feathered chicken's method. Chapter 33 Surface efforts. The next day, the sky was just getting light. The Chen family became busy. The two women were cooking breakfast in the kitchen, while Chen Dao and Chen Da were responsible for feeding the chickens. Chichiti. As soon as he arrived at the chicken coop, Chen Dao heard the crowing of chickens, and saw that the number of furry little chicks in the coop had grown from 3 to 5. This hatching speed. A look of joy quickly appeared on Chen Dao's face. The hatching speed of the yellow-feathered chicken was really too gratifying. Chen Dao finally confirmed one thing: the hatching period of yellow-feathered chicken eggs is indeed 5 days. At this hatching rate, I'm afraid that our house will be overcrowded with chickens in no time. When Chen Dao was feeling happy, Xiao Hai came running over with a chuckle and touched Chen Dao's calves with the feathers on his neck. You foodie chicken! Chen Dao smiled and sprinkled sorghum and rice bran beside the chicken coop, letting Xiao Hai and the chickens in the cage peck at the food. Then Chen Dao reached into the chicken coop and took out 3 eggs. It looks like these 3 eggs can't be hatched. Chen Dao looked carefully at the 3 eggs in his hand. One of the 3 eggs was put in for incubation on the first day, and 2 were put in on the second day. All the eggs in the same batch have been successfully hatched, but these 3 eggs have not shown any movement, which means that these 2 eggs are either unfertilized eggs or the product of hatching failure. Just in time for an extra meal this morning, Chen Dao brought the eggs to the kitchen and said to Lai Ping, Mom, beat these 3 eggs into the rice. Let's add some to Chen Cheng's meal today. Lai Ping and He Qiuilian were preparing meals for Chen Cheng and his 4 companions in the kitchen. After all, they needed help to escort them into the city, and Chen Dao felt embarrassed not to provide them with a meal. Okay. Lai Ping took the eggs, broke 3 eggs, put them into the pot and mixed them with the sorghum paste. Chen Dao did not stay in the kitchen for long. He went to the yard and opened the door of Chen's house. You guys came so early? As soon as the door opened, Chen Dao saw Chen Cheng and 4 others who were already waiting outside, and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Aren't we afraid of delaying your business, Brother Dao? Chen Cheng scratched his head. Come in first. Chen Dao let the 5 people into the yard, and as he led them into the house, he said with a smile, You are blessed today. Not only do you have food to eat, but you also have eggs. Egg? The eyes of the 3 Chen Cheng brothers as well as Chen Si and Chen Jiang all lit up. For the 3 Chen brothers, sorghum noodles were a rare food. As for eggs, the 3 brothers had not tasted eggs for at least a few years. Although Chen Si and Chen Jiang were not as miserable as Chen Cheng and the other 2, eggs were also a rare food for them, so they were naturally looking forward to it. That's right. Shen Dao nodded and said, I beat 3 eggs into the meal today. Although it's not much, it's enough for you to taste. Very good. Shen Shi shouted happily, and the other 4 also looked expectant. As they looked expectant, Lai Ping and He Qiuilian prepared the meal and brought over a large wooden barrel filled with porridge. There are real eggs. Shen Mu had excellent eyesight and he immediately noticed the difference between the porridge and the usual ones, and even smelled the unique fragrance of eggs. Auntie, give me a bowl of egg rice. Shen Jiang, who was quite familiar with Mr. Shen, couldn't wait to speak. Good. He Qiuilian smiled and took out a bowl, scooping a full bowl of rice porridge for Chen Jiang. Sniffing the aroma of eggs wafting from the porridge, Chen Jiang couldn't help but look intoxicated. It smells so good. Shen Dao opened his mouth, speechless. In his opinion, this rice porridge was no different from what he had eaten a few days ago. 3 eggs were beaten into it. Although it was not as outrageous as beating an egg into the Yangtze River, there were more rice than eggs. There was hardly any trace of eggs. How could Chen Jiang have such an expression? In fact, not only Chen Jiang, but also Chen Cheng and others were sniffing the aroma of the food in the bowl with intoxicated faces, as if they could really smell the scent of eggs from it. "Mom, give me a bowl too." The appearance of Chen Cheng and the other two aroused Chen Dao's curiosity. He asked Lai Ping for a bowl of rice porridge and then poured the rice into his mouth. As soon as the rice entered his mouth, Chen Dao's eyes widened and a mask of pain appeared on his face. To be fair, this rice porridge is not that bad, but don't forget that it contains rice bran. Rice bran can be swallowed after being ground into powder, but rice bran that is not ground into powder will really get stuck in the throat. "Mom, pour me a glass of water." "Here it comes." Lai Ping also noticed Chen Dao's expression as if he had something stuck in his throat, and hurriedly poured him a glass of water so that he could swallow the food stuck in his throat. Cough, cough, cough. Shen Dao coughed several times before he felt a little better. Others smiled. In their opinion, Chen Dao was a capable and precocious child, and they rarely saw him like this. "You guys eat first. I'll go take a look outside." After having his throat choked, Chen Dao completely lost interest in tasting the porridge. He walked out of the house, came to the chicken coop, took out 2 yellow feathered hens from the cage, tied their feet, and planned to take them to the city to sell them. Soon after, Chen Cheng and others came out after eating. At the same time, Chen Da also borrowed a donkey cart from the village chief's house. The group got on the cart, and Chen Si drove the donkey cart to the county town. There has been no change on the long official road. As donkey carts travel on the road, one can still see refugees with weather-beaten faces and numb expressions. These refugees, with their families, walk slowly but firmly towards the county town as if that is their only hope of survival. But Chen Dao knew clearly that when these refugees arrived at the county town, what might greet them was not disaster relief from the government, but soldiers with knives in their hands. Well, Chen Dao sighed lightly, forced himself not to look at those poor refugees, and headed towards the county town. The donkey cart approached the county town, and Chen Dao looked around. However, more and more refugees gathered outside the county town, and more houses were built by the refugees, forming an unplanned gathering area outside the entire county town. The careful Chen Dao also noticed that there were many white bones exposed on the ground. Obviously, many refugees starved to death, were killed, or eaten during this period. The yeoman runners who used to distribute porridge are gone too. Chen Dao turned his eyes but failed to spot the government officials distributing porridge. It is obvious that the government nowadays is not even willing to do such superficial work as providing porridge. Chapter 34 1 or 2. After paying 10 copper coins as the entrance fee, Chen Dao and his party were able to pass the obstruction of the soldiers guarding the city and enter the county town. The county town was still bustling with activity, except, not sure if it was an illusion, but Chen Dao seemed to see a hint of sadness on the faces of passers-by. With this doubt in mind, Chen Dao sat on a donkey cart and arrived at the Fuhu boxing gym. He jumped off the donkey cart first and skillfully stuffed 10 copper coins into the hands of the gym guard. "Brother Y, please help me find Miss Lai." The last time he came to Fuhu boxing gym, Chen Dao already knew the guard's name, which was YG. After receiving the 10 copper coins, YG smiled at Chen Dao, then ran into the martial arts hall and called out Lai Ying. "Brother Chen Dao is here again?" Lai Ying greeted Chen Dao with a smile on her face. As the only daughter of the owner of the Fuhu boxing gym, Lai Ying was considered a person of high status in Taiping County, but she was very approachable. At least when facing Chen Dao, she always showed a warm smile. "Ms. Lai." Chen Dao also smiled and greeted Lai Ying, and then said, "I brought some white feathered chickens this time, I want them all." Without waiting for Chen Dao to finish his introduction, Lai Ying waved his hand indicating that he wanted them all. Seeing this, Chen Dao's smile widened a little and he continued, "There are fewer white feathered chickens this time, only 3. "Only 3? A trace of disappointment appeared on Lai Ying's face. The taste of white feathered chicken is still very good. As a foodie, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed after hearing that there were fewer white feathered chickens. But Chen Dao changed the subject and said, "I brought some other chicken breeds this time. I wonder if Miss Lai is interested?" "Other chicken breeds?" Lai Ying was startled and asked, "Isn't it a gray-feathered chicken?" Gray-feathered chickens are the most common and most prevalent domestic chickens in Xia country. The only advantage of this creature is that it is easy to raise, but the taste is not that good, and is far less plump than the white-feathered chickens that Chen Dao sold to Lai Ying. Of course, it's not a gray-feathered chicken. Miss Lai, come with me. Chen Dao led Lai Ying to the donkey cart. As Lai Ying approached, Chen Cheng and others couldn't help but look restrained. On the way here, Chen Da had already told them Lai Ying's identity. Lai Ying was the daughter of the owner of the Fu Hu boxing gym, one of the 3 largest martial arts gyms in the county. She was considered a top figure in the entire Taiping County, and was far beyond the reach of the villagers of Chenjia village like them. Look, Miss Lai, this is the kind of chicken I brought this time. Shen Dao pointed to the 2 yellow-feathered hens in the chicken coop and introduced them to Lai Ying. I named this chicken yellow-feathered chicken. Compared with white-feathered chicken, yellow-feathered chicken is bigger and has firmer meat. It must be tastier than white-feathered chicken. This yellow-feathered chicken is quite unique. Lai Ying looked at the yellow-feathered chicken in the cage and nodded. It's just as you said. It's bigger and its feathers are brighter. I wonder how much this chicken costs. Lai Ying was indeed tempted. Yellow-feathered chickens sell better than white-feathered chickens, and in Lai Ying's opinion, the better the chicken looks, the better it tastes. Therefore, she already had the idea of buying these 2 yellow-feathered chickens. This Chen Dao's eyes rolled as he thought quickly, Miss Lai, you know it's not easy for us to go into the mountains and catch these chickens. Yellow-feathered chickens are harder to find than white-feathered chickens, so the price is bound to be more expensive. Just tell me, how much is it? This Chen Dao hesitated for a moment and offered a price he thought was good, 1 tael of silver per piece. No problem. Just 1 or 2 taels of silver each. Lai Ying was too lazy to even bargain and directly accepted the price. She is indeed a wealthy woman with great wealth. Shen Dao secretly praised Lai Ying in his heart, and he also had a better understanding of the strength of Fu Hu boxing gym. 1 tael of silver for a chicken, but they didn't even bargain for the price. It can only be said that the wealth of the Fu Hu boxing gym is beyond Chen Dao's imagination. In fact, Chen Dao was mistaken. In his opinion, the cost of raising a yellow-feathered chicken was just 500 taels of white-feathered chicken plus a few copper coins of chicken heart grass and sumac flowers. But in Lai Ying's opinion, this yellow-feathered chicken was the prey that Chen Dao and others had captured by risking their lives in the mountains, so it was natural that the price was higher. Zhao Wai, help me get these chickens in. After handing over 3.5 taels of silver to Chen Dao, Lai Ying waved to YG and asked him to help him deliver the 5 chickens he bought to the restaurant. Then he said to Chen Dao, Brother Chen, if you have more yellow-feathered and white-feathered chickens in the future, you can continue to send them over. I'll take as many as you want. No problem. Chen Dao agreed without hesitation. As a big and straightforward client like Lai Ying, he was naturally willing to continue doing business with her. However, Shen Dao might not come by himself next time. Ms. Lai, I want to ask you something. Shen Dao suddenly said. What is it? I wonder if Miss Lai has ever heard of the iron claw chicken and the blood-clotting fruit? Iron claw chicken? Never heard of it. As for the blood-clotting fruit, Lai Ying frowned and thought for a moment, then looked directly into Chen Dao's eyes and said, Why are you asking about the blood-clotting fruit? Haven't you given up the idea of practicing martial arts? Lai Ying must know about the blood coagulation fruit. Chen Dao's eyes lit up, and he said hurriedly, I'm just asking around. I wonder if Miss Lai can explain something to me? Lai Ying looked at Chen Dao deeply and said, Blood coagulation fruit is not a rare thing. Most of the pharmacies in the city controlled by big families sell it. But there are very few people who go to the pharmacies to buy blood coagulation fruit. Why? Chen Dao couldn't help but ask. Because the effect of the blood-clotting fruit is useless to warriors or even quasi-warriors, and it is not the best thing to nourish Kai and blood for apprentice-level warriors. Naturally there are few buyers. Lai Ying said. I see. Shen Dao suddenly realized that the function of the blood coagulation fruit was to nourish Kai and blood. However, according to Lai Ying, the effect of the blood coagulation fruit in nourishing Kai and blood should be very weak, and it may not even be effective for some apprentice-level warriors who are practicing martial arts. Based on this, Chen Dao can basically infer that the value of the blood coagulation fruit must not be too high. If the value of the blood-clotting fruit is not high, then the matter of raising blood-feather chickens by myself will be settled. According to the introduction of the golden finger, it only takes 3 blood-clotting fruits to cultivate a yellow-feathered chicken into a blood-feathered chicken. Thinking of this, Chen Dao asked calmly, I wonder how much this blood-clotting fruit is worth. Wait for me a moment. Lai Ying walked into the martial arts hall and came out with 2 fruits in his hand. This is the blood coagulation fruit. As for the price in the pharmacy should not be more than 20 coins. Chapter 35 The terrible tax increased 20 cents. This price made Chen Dao extremely happy. He looked carefully at the 2 fruits in Lai Ying's hand. They were as big as eggs, round all over, with a hint of red on the skin. They were different from most of the fruits Chen Dao had seen. These 2 blood-clotting fruits are for you. Lai Ying directly stuffed 2 blood-clotting fruits into Chen Dao's hands. Knowing that Lai Ying was a wealthy woman, Chen Dao did not refuse and directly accepted the fruit. Then he said goodbye. Miss Lai, I have other things to do, so I will leave first. Go ahead. After saying goodbye to Lai Ying, Chen Dao got on the donkey cart and left with Chen Cheng and others. Lai Ying returned to the backyard of the martial arts hall. Cluck cluck cluck. In the backyard of the martial arts hall, the sound of roosters crowing could be heard one after another. Lai Hu stood beside the chicken coop, looking thoughtfully at the white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens in the cage. Father. It was not until Lai Ying's voice came that Lai Hu turned his eyes and asked, Yingzi, did you buy these chickens again? Yes. Lai Ying sat down at the stone table and said, Dad, we have white-feathered chickens to eat again. Lai Ying is a foodie, and this is the consensus of everyone in the Fuhu boxing gym. As a foodie, Lai Ying has a special liking for chicken. However, she has long been tired of the taste of gray-feathered chicken, and is obsessed with white-feathered chicken instead. After all, compared to gray-feathered chickens, white-feathered chickens not only have more meat, but are also fatter, and the taste of their chicken is far better than that of gray-feathered chickens. You. Lai Hu pointed at Lai Ying. He was well aware of Lai Ying's foodie nature. In fact, not only Lai Ying was a foodie, but so was Lai Hu. Lai Hu was also nostalgic for the taste of white-feathered chicken, otherwise he would not have stood by the chicken coop and observed the chickens. Was the chicken delivered by the guy named Chen Dao again this time? Lai Hu sat down opposite Lai Ying and asked. Yes. Lai Ying replied, it's not easy for brother Chen Dao and his men either. They have to take risks every day to go into the mountains to hunt. Well, Lai Hu sighed lightly and couldn't help but think of what happened in the county government office a few days ago. In fact, when the county magistrate asked each family to contribute some money and food, Lai Hu himself wanted to agree, but the other major families and martial arts schools were unwilling to do so. After all, the Fuhu boxing school still has to survive in Taiping County, so it is impossible not to advance and retreat together with the 4 major families and the 2 martial arts schools. I'm afraid there will be trouble in the city soon. Lai Hu looked up at the sky. The cold weather had no effect on him as he was already a warrior. But it was quite unbearable for the common people. The cost of harvesting crops is not good. When the income is not enough to cover the expenditure, we have to face the government's tax increase. I'm afraid trouble is just around the corner. East Market. Wu Han sat behind his goods looking worried. Brother Wu, what are you doing? But at this moment, a voice came from behind. Wu Han turned around and a surprised smile appeared on his face. Brother Chen, why are you here? Shen Dao jumped off the donkey cart, gave Wu Han a gentle hug, and said with a smile, Brother Wu, how is your business lately? Oh, don't mention it. Wu Han said with a gloomy face, I can't sell any goods recently. How come? Shen Dao glanced at the stall in front of Wu Han. There were several chicken cages on it, and a few gray-feathered chickens were clucking in the cages. Wu Han first greeted Chen Da and the others, and then said, Brother Chen, you don't know. Business in this county town is not doing well now. Take the live poultry for example, no one is buying them. Why? Chen Dao asked in confusion. Eating meat is one of the most basic needs of human beings. Logically speaking, live poultry should not be unsellable. Of course it's because the government increased taxes. Wu Han said with a sad face. The government has just issued an order requiring every household in the county to hand in at least 1 dan of grain. If they can't provide enough grain, they will have to pay 2 taels of silver. Brother Chen, tell me, in this situation, who would be willing to buy meat? Increase taxes? Shen Dao was stunned. As someone who had lived in China in his previous life, it was difficult for him to understand the practice of increasing taxes during years of disaster. In the past, whenever a place was hit by a disaster, the government would often allocate funds for disaster relief, but here, the situation is the opposite. Not only did the government not allocate funds for disaster relief, it also increased taxes. Does the imperial court really want to force all the people of Taiping County to death? No, not just Taiping County. This cold disaster affected the entire Qingzhou, and even the 2 neighboring states were also affected by the cold disaster. The court's tax increase could not be limited to 1 county. I'm afraid the entire Xia kingdom will have to impose the tax. With such a natural disaster, if taxes are still imposed, I'm afraid the people of Qingzhou will soon be starving and have to eat their own children. That's right, it's a tax increase. Wu Han said in a hateful voice. Those damned officials don't even think about collecting taxes from the wealthy families, but only know how to squeeze money out of us common people. Damn it. Shen Dao frowned. Chenjia village belonged to Taiping County. Even the people in the county town had to pay more taxes. Chenjia village might not be able to escape the fate of tax increase. The reason why Chenjia village had not heard the news of tax increase was probably because the government was short of staff and had not yet collected the taxes outside the county. When Chenjia village was about to be taxed, Chen Daobian felt cold all over. Given the situation in Chenjia village, he was afraid that there wouldn't be a single family in the entire village that could pay 2 taels of silver. Brother Wu, I wonder what will happen if we can't pay the tax? Shen Dao asked. What else? Wu Han said without hesitation. The government has already made it clear that if a family cannot pay the tax, the whole family will be arrested and sent to the north as soldiers. Exile. Shen Dao was shocked. Xia country was not the China of his previous life. The treatment of soldiers in Xia country was extremely poor. Of course, for the people who can't survive, being exiled can barely provide them with enough food, and it is a way to survive. But things are not that simple. Wu Han said that this time the exiles would be sent to the north, and in the north, the Xia kingdom was fighting with the barbarians. The battle was extremely brutal, with countless casualties every day. Going to the north as an exile would not only make him die on the battlefield, but it would also be a question whether he could arrive safely. After all, the north is thousands of miles away from Qingzhou, and such a long journey is enough to cause many exiled civilians to die on the road. This is really. The officials are forcing the people to rebel. Shen Dao couldn't help but sigh secretly. This tax increase really left no way for the people to survive. The people who were facing the cold disaster were already hungry, and now there was another tax increase. If you can't pay the tax, you will be sent to the north as a soldier, and face the risk of dying on the road at any time. It would be really unjust if the common people didn't rebel. Brother Wu, didn't the government say it would collect 1 stone of grain? Can we hand it over in the form of rice bran or other grains? Shen Dao asked with a turn of his eyes. If rice bran can be used to cope with the problem, then this tax increase will be bearable for ordinary people. Chapter 36 Girls Blessing Rice Bran? Wu Han smiled bitterly and said, Brother Chen, you think too simply. How could the government leave such a big loophole for us? The tax collectors have already said that the tax increase this time must be on sorghum, wheat, and rice. All other grains will not be counted. Shen Dao was silent. These 3 types of grains were the most expensive sold in the grain stores nowadays. Even though he was living the best life in Chenjia village nowadays, he couldn't afford even a stone of grain. If we can't provide food, we will be sent to the north as soldiers. Shen Dao just felt cold all over. This imperial court really didn't give him any way to survive. Brother Wu, have you paid the tax? How can I afford it? Wu Han sighed and said, the 1-month deadline given by the government is getting closer and closer. If I can't pay the tax, I'm afraid my whole family will be sent to the army. This Shen Dao opened his mouth, not knowing what to say, so he simply changed the subject and said, Brother Wu, I'm planning to buy some gray-feathered chickens this time. Do you sell them? Of course I will. When Wu Han heard that Chen Dao wanted to buy chickens, his eyes immediately lit up. Brother Chen, how many do you plan to buy? I can give you a discount. Of course, the gray-feathered chicken was not what Chen Dao wanted to buy, but what Chen Dao wanted. Chen Dao's purpose of going to the city to sell white-feathered chickens was to earn money, so that he could buy more gray-feathered chickens to raise. On the way to East Market, Chen Dao had already discussed this with Chen Da. So after hearing Wu Han's question, Shen Dao replied, I brought a total of 2 taels of silver this time, and I plan to use it all to buy gray-feathered chickens. Brother Wu, can you help me calculate how much I can buy? 2 taels of silver. Wu Han counted on his fingers and said, nowadays, a gray-feathered chicken costs about 150 coins. With 2 taels of silver, I can buy about 13 of them. I don't have enough here, but it doesn't matter. Brother Chen, wait a minute, I'll go talk to another stall owner for you. Not long after, Wu Han returned with 3 chicken vendors and said to Chen Dao, Brother Chen, it's settled. There are 13 chickens in total, and you will get 150 coins for each. Okay, let's trade. Soon, the 2 parties completed the transaction. Shen Dao paid within 950 copper coins and bought 13 gray-feathered chickens. After placing the chicken cage on the donkey cart, Chen Dao and his party came to the grain store in the East Market. Food prices have risen again. Shen Dao couldn't help but frown when he walked into the grain store. The price of grain was 2-3 cents more expensive than the last time he came to the county town. Sir, do you want to buy food? The clerk in the grain store warmly welcomed Chen Dao into the store. Chen Dao looked at the grain prices and asked, Hey, why are the grain prices so high again? Sir, you don't know. The waiter responded, the price of food in this city is rising every day now, and the price in our store is already the most conscientious price. Shen Dao nodded without comment. After memorizing all the grain prices, he proposed the purchase quantity, I need 50 kilograms of white flour and 100 kilograms of sorghum flour. White flour now costs 16 yen per pound, and sorghum flour costs 12 yen per pound. 50 pounds of white flour and 100 pounds of sorghum flour are just enough to spend the 2 taels of silver earned from selling chickens. As for the money to buy blood-clotting fruit later, Chen Dao still has a few hundred copper coins in his hand, which should be enough in theory. Okay. The guy started working quickly and soon loaded a total of 150 kilograms of grain onto the donkey cart outside the store. Sir, please take care. As the waiter said goodbye, the donkey cart started slowly and arrived at Beiqiaotang, a place Chen Dao had visited once before. Inside Beiqiaotang, the old shopkeeper was calculating on an abacus behind the counter, while a lady named Su Qiaoxi was sorting herbs. After all, the young Su Qiaoxi had sharper senses. She immediately noticed Chen Dao entering the store and hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Sir, are you here to see a doctor or buy medicine?" Chen Dao glanced at Su Qiaoxi and had to say that the granddaughter of the drugstore owner was really pretty. Not only was she cute and well-behaved, but her voice was also very pleasant, which made people involuntarily develop a liking for her. To buy medicine, Chen Dao replied, "I want to buy some blood-clotting fruit. Do you have any for sale in your store?" "Some." The shopkeeper sitting behind the counter said, "One blood-clotting fruit is 18 coins. How many do you need, sir?" 18 yen. This price is similar to what Chen Dao learned from Lai Ying before. After thinking for a moment, Chen Dao said, 30 pieces. Please wait a moment, sir. I will get it for you. Su Qiaoxi ran into the backyard of the pharmacy and came out soon after with a package. She handed it to Chen Dao. There are 30 blood-clotting fruits in total. Sir, you can count them. Good. Chen Dao opened the package and counted them. After confirming that there were indeed 30 coins, he took out 540 copper coins from the inner layer of his clothes and gave them to Su Qiaoxi. When taking the copper coins, their fingers touched. Su Qiaoxi's pretty face turned red, but Chen Dao didn't feel anything. He quickly left the shop with the blood-clotting fruit. Grandfather. Su Qiaoxi looked at Chen Dao's departing back and said, "Is this young man surnamed Chen a warrior?" When Chen Dao came to the store before, Su Qiaoxi heard Chen Dao call him, so she knew that Chen Dao's surname was Chen. It shouldn't be. The shopkeeper Su Shihua shook his head and said, "Warriors will not buy medicinal materials such as blood-clotting fruit." Although Su Shihua was only the owner of a small pharmacy, he was well informed and knew very well that warriors simply looked down upon medicinal materials like the blood-clotting fruit. Not to mention warriors, even the apprentice-level quasi-warriors who were practicing martial arts in martial arts gyms would look down upon the blood-clotting fruit. Otherwise, the price of the blood-clotting fruit would not be so cheap. He should just be a farmer who wants to become a warrior. Su Shihua made a judgment. From Chen Dao's clothes, he guessed that Chen Dao should just be a farmer. As for why he bought medicinal herbs, such as blood-clotting fruit, most likely, he is just an ambitious farm boy who hopes to become a warrior by taking cheap, blood-boosting medicinal herbs such as blood-clotting fruit. Really? Su Qiaoxi looked out the door. For some reason, she was particularly curious about the boy whom she had only met twice, because the boy's eyes were completely different from those of others. As she helps her grandfather work in a pharmacy, she is considered to be well-informed. The people who come to the pharmacy can be roughly divided into 2 categories. One category is poor people, who often have numb eyes and restrained expressions, and they usually only buy cheap herbal remedies. The other category was wealthy people or warriors. These people were dressed luxuriously, and there was always a hint of covetousness in their eyes when they looked at her. As for Chen Dao, his eyes gave Su Qiaoxi an especially different feeling. When Chen Dao looked at her, there was only admiration in his eyes, nothing else, and he would soon look away. This made Su Qiaoxi feel extra comfortable each time she got along with Chen Dao, even though she and Chen Dao had only met twice and had only spoken a few words to each other. "I hope you can become a warrior as you wish." Su Qiaoxi sent her most sincere blessings to this strange boy in her heart. Chapter 37 Buns. The donkey cart drove out of the county town, and the flour bags and chicken cages piled on the cart attracted the greedy eyes of the refugees. Many people will lose their moral bottom line when they are hungry. If possible, the refugees outside the city would not mind robbing Chen Dao and his group. Fortunately, Chen Dao and his group were all young and strong. The bow and arrow in Chen Dao's hand and Chen Cheng's big stature were very intimidating, which prevented the refugees from rushing forward and robbing the things in the car. Damn it, the looks of these refugees outside the city are getting more and more scary. After getting a little further away from the city gate, Chen Si, who was driving, relaxed his tense body a little and exhaled. The pairs of hungry wolf-like eyes outside the city really made him feel stressed. Hurry and drive back to Chenjia village. Chen Da glanced around with sharp eyes, alert for the bandits who might jump out from the sides of the official road at any time. Chen Cheng smiled innocently and said to Chen Dao, "Don't worry, Brother Dao, I will definitely protect your safety." Chen Dao glanced at Chen Cheng's heavy body and nodded, without any doubt about Chen Cheng's words. Chen Cheng, who was 1.8 meters tall, was no different from a giant in this era when people were generally hungry. His presence could reduce many unnecessary dangers. After all, whether they are refugees or bandits, they are all discerning and will pick on the weak. Bandits generally don't want to provoke a big man like Chen Cheng, who is 1.8 meters tall and has an extremely strong physique. Chenjia village. Not far from Chen Dao's construction site, villagers were gathered together chatting. Ever since Chen Dao's family started building a house, this place has become the only entertainment venue for the villagers of Chenjia village. Every day when the sun rises higher and the weather gets a little warmer, the villagers will come out of their homes and gather nearby to watch the fun. Why aren't Daejir's family working today? I saw Chen Da borrowing the village chief's donkey cart this morning. He must have gone into the city. Going into the city? What for? What else can he do? I guess he went to buy food. It's freezing cold. Where do Chen Da and Dao Jer get the money to buy food? He must have made money from raising chickens, right? My home is very close to Chen's. I can hear the frequent crowing of chickens every day. He must have a lot of chickens at home. Even though the construction site was empty and no one was working, it could not stop the enthusiasm of the villagers. They gathered in groups of 3 or 4 and talked about gossip related to Chen Da and Chen Dao. Chen Da and Dao Jer are really capable. They can still find money to buy food in this day and age. An old villager sighed with some envy. His family's situation was very bad, so he was particularly envious of Chen Dao's family's life. Brother Dao is really amazing. A woman said, "A young boy can bring so much food to the family. I wish my boy could be so capable." Yeah. I think Xiaofai from Dayaja's family has gained weight recently. How can you not get fat if you eat sorghum noodles every day? Shen Cheng and his gang have spent all their money, and they eat well every day. Just as the villagers were talking about it, a donkey cart appeared in everyone's sight. Everyone immediately turned their eyes to the donkey cart. Shen Da and the others are back. There are a lot of things on the car. It seems to be wheat flour and sorghum flour. Hiss! This is too rich. They even have white flour to eat. Not only flour, there are also many chickens on the bus. Facing the envious gazes of the villagers, Chen Si, who was driving the bicycle, couldn't help but straighten his chest, feeling proud. Shen Jiang, Shen Cheng, Chen Mu and Chen Qi also held their heads high and chests puffed out, like proud roosters. "Park the car in front of my house." Shen Da said something to Chen Si, who was driving the car, and Chen Si nodded. He drove the donkey cart to stop in front of Chen's house, and then unloaded the flour, sorghum flour and chicken cages on the cart and moved them into Chen's house. The villagers looked at the unloaded goods from afar, with envy growing in their eyes. I took a look and there were at least a dozen chickens in the chicken coop. More than a dozen chickens? How much meat would that require? There are at least 100 kilograms of flour. Hiss! The Chen family is living a life that even the landlords can't compare to. It would be great if I could help the Chen Dao family with their work. In the front yard of the Chen family, Lai Ping and He Qiulian opened the front door and looked at the house they had moved into, a smile involuntarily forming on their lips. Although the supplies bought this time were far less than last time, the bags of food still made the two women feel at ease. Soon, 150 kilograms of flour and chicken cages were all moved into the house. Chen Da drove the donkey cart to return them to the village chief, while Lai Ping and He Qiulian warmly entertained Chen Cheng and the other 4. It was called a warm hospitality, but in fact it was just a meal of porridge and some hot water. But even so, Chen Cheng and others did not show any disgust. They wolfed down the porridge and then stood up to say goodbye. "And let's go home first. We'll come back to work tomorrow." "Goodbye, Auntie, Brother Dao." Everyone, walk slower. After seeing Chen Cheng and the other 2 off, Lai Ping returned to the house and asked Chen Dao Dao, "How much food did you buy this time?" "Not much." Chen Dao replied, "A total of 50 katas of white flour and 100 katas of sorghum flour." "Only 150 pounds? Lai Ping couldn't help but frown. 150 kilograms of food might seem like a lot, but it wouldn't last for a few days. Don't forget, the family still has to provide daily meals for Chen Cheng and others. Why did you buy all white flour and sorghum flour this time?" Lai Ping couldn't help but ask, feeling that Chen Dao was being too cunning. Nowadays, who would buy only white flour and sorghum flour? "Don't worry, Mom, I know what's going on." Chen Dao did not explain to Lai Ping, but changed the subject and said, "By the way, Mother, do you know how to make steamed buns?" "Steamed bun?" Lai Ping asked, Is it the white flour buns sold in the city? Right. Shen Dao nodded. The main reason why he bought flour this time, besides the fact that the price of flour increased less, was that he wanted to change his taste. In his previous life, Shen Dao preferred white rice as his staple food, but the reason he liked white rice was because it had enough side dishes. But after coming to this world, he only had white rice without any side dishes every day. In this situation, Shen Dao naturally didn't like the monotonous white rice so much and naturally thought of staple foods such as steamed buns. When not eaten with other side dishes, steamed buns naturally taste much better than white rice. I've seen food called steamed buns in the city. He Willian, who had been to the county town with Chen Da, said, they are very expensive. One steamed bun costs 1 penny. An adult needs at least 3 steamed buns to be full. Chapter 38 The Fragrant Smell a Penny? Chen Dao couldn't help but smile bitterly to himself. A steamed bun costing 1 cent was a thing of the past. With the skyrocketing grain prices in the county, steamed buns in the city were now sold for 3 cents each. Of course, Chen Dao did not say this, but asked He Willian, Aunt, can you cook this kind of food? How could I know that? He Willian shook her head like a rattle. The making techniques of these steamed buns are the unique skills of the hotel chefs. How can they be taught to outsiders? Well, Chen Dao was speechless. In his opinion, steamed buns were not a difficult food to make. It was just a matter of kneading the dough and then steaming it after it fermented successfully. I never thought that this was a unique skill in this world. Mother. Shen Dao turned to look at Lai Ping and said, we can try making steamed buns. Can you do it? Lai Ping asked suspiciously. Probably. Shen Dao didn't dare to guarantee that he could make steamed buns. After all, yeast. Before artificially extracted yeast was available, it could only be obtained through natural fermentation, which was still somewhat difficult. Chen Dao, Lai Ping and He Willian came to the kitchen together and taught them how to knead the dough first. After kneading the dough, Chen Dao asked the 2 people to put the dough in a wooden basin, add some water, and then put the wooden basin in the kitchen, waiting for the yeast to multiply in the dough. Is this all right? Lai Ping asked while looking at the dough in the bowl. Let's wait and see tomorrow morning. Shen Dao vaguely remembered that yeast prefers a warm, humid environment. Shen Dao had already created a humid environment by adding water to a wooden basin. As for a warm environment, the temperature in the kitchen is still relatively high, which should be enough for yeast to reproduce. All right. Lai Ping half believed and half doubted, then let's eat first. At this time, Chen Da also returned. After the 2 families had dinner together, they went back to their rooms to rest. The next day, Shen Dao, who woke up from Xiao Hai's crowing, went to the kitchen immediately. Lai Ping and He Willian were also in the kitchen at this time, observing the dough in the wooden basin. Dao is here. Lai Ping quickly waved to Chen Dao. Come over and take a look, the dough seems to have grown bigger. Hearing this, Chen Dao's eyes lit up, and he quickly came to the wooden basin, only to see that just as Lai Ping said, the dough that was only as big as a human head yesterday had expanded almost twice as much, which meant the dough has fermented successfully. Mom, Auntie, let's start making steamed buns now. Shen Dao directed Lai Ping and He Willian to knead the dough to expel the air inside, and then divide the dough into small pieces. After that, they could start steaming buns. Of course, the Chen family didn't have a steamer, but other things could be used instead. After leaving a small piece of fermented dough as the material for making steamed buns next time, Chen Dao found a round wooden board with a hollow middle. He first added some water to the bottom of the pot, then covered the pot with the board, placed the small pieces of dough on the board, and finally covered the pot. It will be ready in a moment. Chen Dao covered the pot and said to Lai Ping and He Willian with a smile. Dior, this steamed bun, can it really be made? Lai Ping asked with some doubt. It will definitely work. Shen Dao said with certainty that the most difficult step in making steamed buns is fermentation. Now that the dough has been fermented successfully, how could it fail? Mom, you guys watch the pot, I'm going to feed the chickens. Shen Dao didn't say much, he left the kitchen and came to the front yard. There are more chicks. After checking the number of chickens in the chicken coop, Shen Dao's face showed joy again. When he went to the city yesterday, there were only 5 chicks, but now there are 7. At this hatching speed, getting rich is definitely no longer a dream. But Chen Dao looked at the chirping chicks in the chicken coop and began to consider a question in his mind. Should he start breeding blood feather chickens now? Chen Dao has already obtained the blood-clotting fruit, the material for cultivating blood feather chickens, but Shen Dao looked at the 3 adult yellow-feathered chickens. If these 3 yellow-feathered chickens were to be raised into blood-feathered chickens, it would inevitably delay the reproduction and hatching of the chicks. However, if the chicks are raised into blood-feathered chickens, the result would be more trouble than gain. After all, yellow-feathered chickens not only have a short incubation time, but also a relatively short growth cycle. The 3 chicks that were hatched first have now grown a lot in size, equivalent to 1/3 of an adult yellow-feathered chicken. Why not wait until these chicks grow up before considering breeding blood-feathered chickens? At the same time Chen Dao made the decision, Xiao Hai also came to Chen Dao's feet and rubbed against Chen Dao's trouser legs to beg for food. "Got it, you foodie." Chen Dao shook his head and hurried back into the house, taking out sorghum and rice bran to feed Xiao Hai and the yellow-feathered chicken. After feeding the chickens, Chen Dao returned to the kitchen, only to see that the lid of the pot had been opened by Lai Ping, and inside the pot, there were plump white steamed buns. "Is this a steamed bun?" Lai Ping sniffed the aroma wafting from the pot and her throat rolled. "It smells so good. The aroma of this steamed bun is even more tempting than white rice." Not to mention Lai Ping, even He Kuilian looked at the steamed buns in the pot with shining eyes and almost couldn't help but reach out and grab one to eat. Success! Shen Dao came to the stove with a happy face, his mouth watering. After eating bland white rice for several days, he missed the taste of steamed buns very much. "Rice." Lai Ping turned to look at Chen Dao and said, "Are you going to give these buns to Cheng Jie and the others?" The careful Lai Ping had noticed long ago that there were a lot of steamed buns in the pot and she and Chen Dao's family could not finish them all. "Yes. Isn't this a bit too wasteful?" Lai Ping looked at the steamed buns in the pot with reluctance on her face. She was not a stingy person, but she still felt that this kind of food was too luxurious for big-bellied men like Chen Cheng. "Mom, listen to me." Shen Dao explained, steamed buns can also be made with sorghum flour. In the future, we can just use sorghum flour to make steamed buns for Cheng Jie and his friends. And don't you think that eating steamed buns can actually reduce our food consumption? Yeah? Lai Ping obviously didn't understand what was going on. He Kuilian beside him said thoughtfully, "I have eaten steamed buns before. They fill me up quickly, but also make me hungry quickly." "Is this what you mean, dear?" "Almost." Shen Dao nodded. Anyone who has eaten steamed buns knows that this thing is fluffy and fills you up quickly. Using this thing as food for Chen Cheng's group of laborers would definitely save a lot of food than eating porridge. And Chen Cheng's group would definitely not be dissatisfied with it. After all, compared to porridge, steamed buns taste much better. Chapter 39 Delicious Steamed Buns, Envious Villagers. Alright, Lai Ping nodded in agreement, and then the 3 of them put the steamed buns into the wooden barrel, covered it with a piece of cloth, and carried the barrel to the construction site. At the construction site, Chen Cheng and 4 others had arrived early and were taking shelter under a tree. Shen Dao was standing aside, not knowing what he was thinking about. Not far away, many early rising villagers had gathered in 2s and 3s, intending to watch the fun. But at this moment, Shen Dao, Lai Ping and He Kuilian came over carrying wooden barrels. Shen Cheng and the other 4's eyes lit up quickly and they hurriedly surrounded them. "Is dinner ready?" Shen Shi asked with shining eyes. He was just as enthusiastic about eating as Chen Cheng. "You are blessed today." Lai Ping pulled away the cloth on the wooden barrel and the next moment, a rich fragrance wafted out. "Smells so good." A villager who was watching the excitement not far away immediately swallowed his saliva and said, "What is this smell? It smells so good. What kind of food is this? Could it be white rice?" "Definitely not. I've eaten white rice and it doesn't taste like this." "What is that?" The villagers who were watching the fun stood on tiptoe, trying to get a clear view of the food in the barrel, but because the distance was too far, they could only vaguely see a hint of white and had no way of telling what it was. Shen Cheng and others, who were closer, were looking at the snow-white, round buns in the wooden barrel and swallowing their saliva. "Is this a steamed bun?" Shen Si, as someone who had been to the city many times, recognized the appearance of Mantu at the first sight. "What is a steamed bun?" Shen Cheng couldn't help but ask, and at the same time he swallowed his saliva, and almost couldn't help but reach out and grab the steamed buns in the wooden barrel. "Mantu is a good thing," Shen Jiang explained. "This is food made from white flour and it's sold for 3 cents each in the city now." 3 cents apiece? The 3 brothers Chen Cheng, Chen Shi and Chen Mu were stunned. The steamed buns in the bucket were only the size of a fist, but they were sold for 3 cents each? Could it be that this was food for the gods? "Come and eat." Shen Dao watched the performance of the 3 brothers Chen Cheng with a smile, grabbed a steamed bun from the bucket and handed it to Chen Cheng. "Brother Cheng, how does it taste?" Shen Cheng looked at the snow-white bun in front of him, then glanced at his dark palms, and couldn't help but take a step back. "Brother Cheng, this food is too expensive. I dare not eat it." "Right." The 2 Chenshi brothers also nodded like chicks pecking at rice. They really could not afford to enjoy steamed buns that cost 2 cents each. "If you don't eat it, then I will." Shen Dao stuffed the steamed bun directly into his mouth and took a bite. The unique wheat aroma burst out in his mouth. Shen Dao couldn't help but squint his eyes slightly, feeling the aroma of the steamed bun. I have to say that steamed buns taste much better than white rice. The soft texture is extremely satisfying. While seeing Chen Dao bite off half of the steamed bun in one bite, Chen Cheng opened his mouth, feeling a little eager to try, but he still forced himself to suppress his desire. In his opinion, a steamed bun costing 3 cents each was too precious, and he was somewhat reluctant to buy it. Eat quickly, Chen Ji. After swallowing a mouthful of steamed bun, Chen Dao patted Chen Cheng's arm and said, "These foods are prepared for you. If you don't eat them, won't they be wasted?" "Is it really prepared for us?" Chen Chi asked in disbelief. "Certainly." Shen Dao nodded affirmatively. Seeing this, everyone no longer hesitated. Shen Jiang quickly took a steamed bun from Lai Ping and took a bite. It smells so good." The unique wheat aroma burst out in the mouth. Shen Jiang chewed the steamed bun in his mouth carefully and felt the fragrance becoming stronger and stronger. At the same time, a unique sweetness spread in the mouth. "This steamed bun is so delicious." Shen Si also praised it highly. Although he had been to the city, he had never eaten steamed buns. Now that he tasted the steamed buns, he understood why the steamed buns in the city were so expensive. The taste was even better than white rice. "I'll have one too." Chen Cheng took a steamed bun, ate it in one bite, and a look of satisfaction immediately appeared on his face. The rich wheat aroma of the steamed buns and the sweetness produced when chewing made Chen Cheng squint his eyes slightly. He felt that this was the most delicious food in the world, no doubt about it. "Auntie, please give me another one." Chen Cheng quickly finished a steamed bun, reached out and took another one and continued making steamed buns. One more. One more." After eating 5 steamed buns in a row, Chen Cheng felt a little full. He touched his belly and said, "These steamed buns are delicious. I can eat 5 more." "Don't worry, there are plenty of steamed buns." Shen Dao smiled and handed Chen Cheng a glass of water. "Brother Cheng, drink some water first. If you only eat steamed buns, they will be too dry and you may choke easily." "Thank you, Brother Dao." Shen Cheng was touched. Shen Dao was really good to him. She didn't mind that he ate a lot and took care of him in every way. At this moment, he was completely devoted to Chen Dao. Chen Shi and Chen Mu were also moved when they looked at the young boy Chen Dao. Chen Dao was really nice to the 3 brothers. Not only did he give them steamed buns that cost 2 cents each, but he was also worried that the eldest brother would choke. At this moment, the 3 brothers couldn't help but feel willing to die for Chen Dao. It seems like they are eating steamed buns? Not far away, a villager who was watching finally recognized the food in Chen Cheng and his friend's hands, and suddenly a strong look of envy flashed in his eyes. "Mantu? They actually eat mantu? This food is better than the fucking landlord's. Fuck it. Why didn't Dajer's family ask me to build a house? I want to eat steamed buns too. Isn't this what a god's life is like? Not only do we eat sorghum noodles every day, but we also have steamed buns. I have lived for more than 30 years and have never eaten steamed buns once." The villagers looked at Chen Cheng and others who were eating voraciously, and the envy in their eyes almost turned into reality. They had only seen and heard of steamed buns, but had never tasted them. In their opinion, this kind of food was something that only the respectable people in the city could afford, but at this moment, Shen Cheng and his companions were swallowing one steamed bun after another in front of them. How could they not be envious? Especially when I think about how my family had to eat bran every day, while Chen Cheng and his friends were eating steamed buns that tasted better than white rice. It would be fine if there was no comparison, but once the comparison was made, the sense of gap instantly made these villagers feel unwell. The most important thing is that they can smell the aroma of steamed buns floating in the air from where they are standing not far away. The overbearing aroma of wheat instantly makes many villagers who have just had breakfast feel very hungry. *******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************'*''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''' gifts and a good review. Thank you all readers. Chapter 40 Precious food. The villagers swallowed their saliva and looked on enviously. Chen Cheng ate the steamed bun one bite at a time and enjoyed it very much. After eating 10 steamed buns, Chen Cheng said with a satisfied look, "I'm full. These steamed buns are the most delicious food I've ever had." Hearing this, Chen Shi and Chen Mu nodded in agreement. For them, who had not eaten meat for several years and even rarely eaten white rice, steamed buns were indeed more delicious than any other food in the world. Chen Jiang and Chen Si didn't quite agree with Chen Cheng's statement, but they were full of praise for the taste of the steamed buns. The soft texture and sweet taste made them extremely satisfied. Of course, steamed buns also have their disadvantages. That is, if you eat them alone, they are too dry and have to be eaten with water. Also, the steamed buns were delicious, but they filled people up too quickly. The 4 strong young men, Chen Shi, Chen Mu, Chen Si, and Chen Jiang, only ate 3 each before they were too full to eat any more. In other words, Chen Cheng, this big-bellied man, has a big appetite and can eat 10 in a row. Are you all full? Shen Dao took a look at the steamed buns in the bucket. Sure enough, steamed buns were easier to fill up than porridge. Usually, Chen Cheng and his friends could finish a bucket of porridge, but this time, they couldn't finish the whole bucket of steamed buns. Now there were about 10 steamed buns left in the bucket. I'm full. Shen Cheng scratched his head and said with a simple smile, "Thank you, Brother Cheng, for giving us steamed buns. You deserve this." Shen Dao responded with a smile. At this time, everyone including him had eaten the steamed buns, and Shen Dao did not plan to keep the remaining 10 steamed buns. Shengji. Shen Dao thought for a moment and said, "There are still 10 steamed buns left. Each of you can take 2 back to give to your family members to try." As soon as Shen Dao said this, the 5 people's eyes suddenly lit up. Shen Cheng was a little embarrassed and said, "Brother Dao, isn't this a little inappropriate? It's already very kind of you to give us enough food, how can we have the nerve to take it home?" In the eyes of the honest and straightforward Chen Cheng, being able to eat a full meal at Chen Dao's house was already a great advantage for Chen Dao, not to mention that they were eating such precious food as steamed buns. If he took the steamed buns home to eat, this is a bit greedy. Yeah, Brother Dao, how can we have the nerve to eat and take at the same time? Chen Shi also said that although his family was poor, the 3 brothers were relatively simple in character and were somewhat unwilling to take advantage of others by eating and taking things from them. Fine. Shen Dao waved his hand and said, "Steamed buns will go bad if left for too long, so why not take them back for you to eat? Come on, 2 each, take them back for your families to try and then come back to work." To the best of his ability, Chen Dao was still willing to win the hearts of the villagers. Chen Cheng and the other 5 people who work at his home are all relatively honest people, and they will definitely remember it if he shows some favor to them. So Chen Dao stuffed 2 steamed buns into the hands of each of them and asked them to take them back and let their families try them. This okay? Shen Cheng hesitated for a while but still chose to take the 2 steamed buns. In fact, he also wanted to give his family a taste of this delicious food, especially his mother. Shen Cheng has witnessed his mother's hard work since he was a child, so naturally he hopes that his mother can eat something good. Soon, Chen Cheng and the other 4 each took 2 steamed buns and ran back home quickly. The villagers who were watching the fun nearby looked at them running and looked at each other in confusion. What are Chen Cheng and the others doing? Aren't they going to work after dinner? I knew these guys wouldn't work hard. If you ask me, Brother Dao might as well hire me to work. I work hard and eat less than Chen Cheng. I just saw Dao Jie stuff 2 steamed buns into each of their mouths. Could he be asking them to take them home? That must be the case. Damn it. The 3 Chen Cheng brothers are so shameless, they are taking both food and money. Damn it. Why can't I find such a good strenuous job? The villagers, who had figured out the whole story by guessing, were so excited that they wished they could replace Chen Cheng and his 5 companions. There is no other way. In the eyes of the villagers, a job that can provide them with enough food and bring home steamed buns for their families is no different from working for the emperor. Shen Cheng's home. Liu Yan was cooking this morning's meal in the kitchen. To people on Earth, meals often refer to things like rice, but in Chen Cheng's home, meals are handfuls of rice bran and bran powder. At this time, Liu Yan was stirring a paste made of rice bran powder in the pot. Some rice bran that had not been ground into powder was floating on the paste. This was the meal for the 3 underage children in Liu Yan's family and Liu Yan this morning. Mum Tilda, we're back. But at this moment, Liu Yan's ears moved and she heard a loud voice coming from outside the house. Why is Chengji back? Liu Yan's heart tightened. At this point in time, Chen Cheng and the others were working at Chen Dao's house. Why would he run back home at this time? Could it be that? Just when Liu Yan was having bad thoughts, the 3 Chen Cheng brothers ran into the kitchen. Mom, we're back. Why are you back? Liu Yan looked at the 3 happy Chen Cheng brothers, but there was no joy on her face. Instead, she felt heavy in her heart. Chen Cheng and the other 2 went to Chen Dao's house to help with the work, which alleviated the considerable food pressure on their family. However, the 3 of them went home early, contrary to their usual behavior, which made it difficult for Liu Yan not to have bad thoughts. Mom, look at what we brought back. Shen Cheng did not notice Liu Yan's expression. Instead, he took out 2 snow-white steamed buns from his arms and handed them to Liu Yan as if they were treasures. This is. Liu Yan looked at the steamed buns in front of her, her face full of confusion. She had lived in Chenjia village for most of her life and had never left, so naturally she was not familiar with steamed buns. Although she didn't recognize it, Liu Yan knew that the snow-white, fist-sized object in front of her must be edible, because it gave off a sweet smell. This is a steamed bun. Shenji also took out the 2 steamed buns he had been holding from his arms and showed off excitedly. Mom, I tell you, Dao Jer is very generous. He gave us steamed buns today. It is said that this kind of food sells for 3 cents each in the city. It is very expensive. 3 cents each? Liu Yan's hand holding the steamed bun paused in the air. Judging from the feel of the food in her hand, it weighed less than 2 taels, but it cost 3 cents each. For Chen Cheng's family, 3 cents could buy a pound of bran flour, which, if eaten sparingly, could sustain the family's 2 children for a day. However, the value of a steamed bun was equivalent to the daily rations of 2 children. This is more than just expensive. In Liu Yan's opinion, even the emperor in the capital city eats no more than this, right? Chapter 41 shocked Liu Yan. This is so precious. Liu Yan stuffed the steamed bun back into Chen Cheng's hands and said, Changer, please return this food to Daor. It's too precious. Mother can't eat it. Mother. Shen Cheng, who took the steamed bun, couldn't help but say, don't worry about eating it. Daor's family doesn't lack this at all. When we were working, Daor let us eat as much steamed bun as we wanted until we were full. What? Liu Yan's eyes widened and she was stunned. The steamed buns, which cost 3 cents each, were not only provided to Cheng Jer and his friends, but they could also eat as much as they wanted. That's it. Chen Shi, who was standing by, helped explain. These steamed buns were brought back by Dao Jer. Mom, please try them. They are delicious. Shen Mu also said, yes. Mom, try it. Yeah? Seeing that the 3 brothers had been persuading her, Liu Yan took the steamed bun from Chen Cheng's hand half believingly, tore off a small piece and put it in her mouth to chew carefully. Mom, how does it taste? The 3 brothers looked at Liu Yan with anticipation. It's delicious. Liu Yan nodded seriously. This steamed bun is better than any meal I've ever eaten. Liu Yan, who is over 40 years old, has eaten bran flour the most in her life. In the past, she could occasionally eat a mouthful of white rice during peaceful years. However, even white rice tastes far inferior to steamed buns. I'll put these buns away and give them to your brothers and sisters later. Although the steamed buns were delicious, Liu Yan did not eat too much. Instead, she carefully put away the 5½ steamed buns, intending to save them for the 3 children at home. Seeing this, the 3 Chen Cheng brothers didn't say anything. Their mother had always been like this. She would always save the delicious food for her children. After putting away the steamed buns, Liu Yan said to the 3 brothers, Brother Dao is so good to you, you must not be lazy when working in his house, otherwise I will not forgive you. Don't worry, Mom. We know what's going on. About a quarter of an hour later, the 3 Chen Cheng brothers, as well as Chen Jiang and Chen Si, all returned to Chen Dao's construction site and began construction work in full swing. Chen Dao also participated in the work, but heavy work was not what Chen Dao was good at. After just moving the wood for a while, Chen Dao became out of breath. This body is still too thin. Chen Dao sighed lightly. He was only 15 years old, and because of years of not having enough to eat, his body was very weak and he could not do much physical work. Brother Dao, go and have a rest. We will do the work. Shen Cheng noticed that Chen Dao was lacking in energy and hurriedly asked Chen Dao to go and rest. Shen Dao nodded, returned to the Chen family's home, lay on the bed and thought about the future. Ever since his last trip to the county and his conversation with Wu Han, Chen Dao has often thought about the court's tax increase. According to Chen Dao's guess, this tax increase will definitely not be limited to the county town, and will sooner or later be applied to villages outside the county town. By then, the villages outside the county town will suffer. Even the people in the city cannot afford to pay a stone of grain, let alone the suffering of the rural areas outside the county town. If they fail to pay the grain, their entire family will be sent to the army. This punishment made Chen Dao feel chilled. He was not worried about his own family not being able to pay the grain, but he couldn't help but worry about the villagers like Chen Cheng. According to the current situation in Taiping County, at least 90% of the people are unable to pay a stone of grain. Once the government forces these people too much, it is hard to say that there will not be chaos or even someone will rise up in rebellion. When reading history in the previous life, history books often described peasant rebellions as peasant uprisings. Every time Chen Dao saw a peasant uprising, he would feel very relieved, but that was from the perspective of a future person. And now, however, Chen Dao had to experience the peasant uprising personally, which was completely different from what he had read in history books. You know, once someone rebelled and a war broke out, the ones who suffered the most were always the lower class people like him. It's time to think of a solution. Chen Dao lay on the bed, wrapped tightly in the quilt, resisting the cold wind while thinking about countermeasures. Before I knew it, it was dusk. At the construction site, Chen Cheng and his 4 companions were already starving. Fortunately, at this time, Lai Ping and Hequilian came over carrying wooden barrels filled with food. Aunt, Shenchi came to the rice bucket and asked in a flattering tone, will the dinner still be steamed buns? After tasting steamed buns, Shenchi has completely fallen in love with them, and his love for porridge has greatly decreased. It's steamed buns. Lai Ping nodded slightly. Shenchi and the other four immediately showed joy on their faces and looked at the rice bucket that was opened by Lai Ping in surprise. As the cloth covering the rice bucket was removed, a rich fragrance wafted out, and plump steamed buns appeared in the sight of Chen Cheng and others. It's really a steamed bun. Shen Cheng took a steamed bun from Lai Ping and asked suspiciously, Auntie, why is the color of this steamed bun different from this morning? The others also showed puzzled expressions. The steamed buns in the morning were white, but the steamed buns in Chen Cheng's hand were yellowish. Of course, the fragrance emitted by the two was similar, and the taste was equally tempting. The steamed buns in the morning were made of white flour, but now they are made of sorghum flour. Lai Ping explained with a smile that it was Chen Dao who told them that sorghum flour could be used to make steamed buns. Under the guidance of Chen Dao, Lai Ping and Hequilian mixed the old dough left over from the morning with sorghum flour, fermented it quickly, and successfully made sorghum steamed buns. I see. Shen Cheng suddenly realized it, and he bit off half of the sorghum bun in one bite, chewing with his cheeks moving. As the taste of the steamed buns spread in his mouth, a look of satisfaction appeared on Chen Cheng's face. Others also started to eat. Each of them grabbed a steamed bun and gobbled it up ravenously. These sorghum steamed buns seemed to taste better than white flour steamed buns. That's what I think too. Brother Dao is so kind to us. He even gave us steamed buns to eat. Everyone was eating and praising Chen Dao. From their perspective at this time, Chen Dao was definitely the best person to them in the village, no doubt about it. Because even their mother had never given them such delicious food. They are eating steamed buns again. Damn it. What kind of life are these big-bellied men like Chen Cheng leading? The food is better than that of the landlords. I want to eat steamed buns too. Every meal is filled with steamed buns, damn it. Is this really how people live? How much food does Dao Jer have? He actually gave such precious food as steamed buns to big-bellied men like Chen Cheng. Not far from the construction site, the villagers who were watching the fun were drooling almost to the ground. They sniffed the aroma of steamed buns in the air and watched Chen Cheng and others eat steamed buns in one bite. It was complete torture for them. Chapter 42 Red Panda? Auntie, we're leaving first. After filling their stomachs with delicious steamed buns, Chen Cheng and his four companions said goodbye to Lai Ping and returned home. Shen Da also walked back home with Lai Ping and Hequilian. At this time in the Chen family's yard, Chen Dao was feeding the chickens. When he saw Chen Da and the other two coming in, he hurriedly greeted them. Brother Dao, let's have an extra meal tonight. But at this moment, Chen Da mysteriously took out a package from behind him. The package opened, revealing a small animal inside. What the hell? Chen Dao took a closer look and blurted out in surprise, this is a national quintessence. However, this animal has reddish-brown fur that looks extremely soft, dotted with white stripes in an orderly manner. Its eyes are round, shiny black, and surrounded by a circle of white fluff, as if it were wearing a pair of glasses. Its tail is particularly long and is covered with thick and thin circular patterns. There are 9 sections in total, making it look cute and beautiful. Is this a red panda? Shen Dao stared at the little animal in front of him with wide eyes. That's right, this animal was none other than the cute animal called the red panda in his previous life. In his previous life, Chen Dao often saw videos of red pandas on Douyin, so he was particularly familiar with the appearance of red pandas. He immediately recognized the creature that Chen Da was going to have as a snack. Red panda? Shen Da, who heard Chen Dao's exclamation, was puzzled and asked, isn't this a 9-section wolf? Well, Chen Dao suddenly remembered that the red panda was the name given to this animal by the Chinese nation in the previous life. In many places, the red panda is commonly known as the 9-section wolf because its tail has 9 sections in layered colors. Uncle, where did you get this? Shen Dao looked at the timid red panda beside Chen Dao's feet and liked it more and more. In his previous life, Shen Dao wanted to raise a red panda more than once, but the conditions did not allow it, so he had to give up. This beast came running over here while I was chopping down trees. Chen Da replied, it's not afraid of strangers. It has been following me since it ran out of the woods. I thought it was a piece of meat after all, so I brought it back and planned to kill it and eat its meat. Killed. Chen Dao twitched the corner of his mouth. Shen Da actually had the heart to kill such a cute little animal and eat its meat. He was indeed an old hunter. But when Shen Dao thought about it, he suddenly understood. For the people on Earth in the previous life, since they had no worries about food and drink, they naturally would not kill cute creatures like red pandas. But for the people in this world, eating meat is the most important thing. Whether the red panda is cute or not does not affect the fact that it is a piece of meat. However, even though he understood, Chen Dao was still reluctant to let Chen Da kill the red panda. He walked to the red panda, picked it up, and said, "Uncle, I like this red panda very much. Can you give it to me? I can exchange it for some eggs. You want to keep this 9-section wolf? Yes. Then I'll give it to you." Chen Da waved his hand and said, "As for the exchange of eggs, there is no need to talk about it. It is just a beast, far less valuable than the secret method of raising white-feathered chickens that you gave me." Well, Chen Dao didn't say anything, because when Chen Da decided to give the red panda to him, the red panda's advancement information appeared in his eyes. Red panda, characteristics, cute, adorable, and flexible. Red panda advancement route 1. Feed Ironheart bamboo for 5 consecutive days. There is a 50% chance of advancement to Swiftwind red panda. Features of the Swiftwind red panda. Moves as fast as the wind, has relatively weak attack power, and has combat power comparable to that of a 9th grade warrior. Red panda advancement route 2. Feed with blood coagulating fruit and blood jade bamboo leaves for 5 consecutive days. There is an 80% chance of advancement to Ironclaw red panda. Features of the Ironclaw red panda. Swift movements, sharp claws, and combat power comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior. Red pandas can actually advance. Chen Dao was both surprised and not surprised. During this period of time, he had roughly figured out the rules of his golden finger. He could see the advanced information of all the animals and plants that belonged to him. At this time, this little panda had been given to him by Chen Da, so he naturally owned it. What really surprised Chen Dao was that the red panda's advancement was so powerful. Among the 2 advancement routes, the Swift Wind red panda in the first advancement route was comparable to a 9th grade warrior. The second advanced route, the Ironclaw red panda, is comparable to an 8th grade warrior. Blood-clotting fruit and blood jade bamboo leaves. Chen Dao's eyes sparkled. He already had the blood-clotting fruit, one of the 2 materials required to advance to become an ironclad red panda. The only thing he lacked was the blood jade bamboo leaf. If I can gather all the materials and upgrade the red panda into an ironclad red panda, my safety will be better guaranteed. Chen Dao has always lacked a sense of security since coming to this world. Although the black-footed chicken Xiao Hai that he had raised before has increased his sense of security a little, the increase is ultimately limited. After all, Xiao Hai is too special and not suitable to appear in the sight of others. Imagine that when Chen Dao goes into the city, Xiao Hai follows him giggling. This will make Chen Dao the center of attention in every minute, and then he will be targeted by the major forces in the county. Compared to Xiao Hai, the red panda is not so eye-catching. Although the red panda will also attract attention, because of its cute appearance, it is better to have a red panda hanging on your body than a clucking chicken following behind you, right? Not to mention, after the red panda advances to the Ironclaw red panda, its combat power is comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior. There are very few 8th rank warriors in the county. With the protection of the Ironclaw red panda, which is equivalent to an 8th rank warrior, Chen Dao's own safety issues will be completely solved. What a cute little panda. Chen Dao squinted his eyes and gently stroked the soft hair on the red panda's head, feeling very happy. The red panda also seemed to like being stroked very much. A comfortable look appeared on its cute little face. It rubbed its head against Chen Dao's palm, and its long tail kept shaking, showing its happy mood. "I'll call you Madoka from now on." Chen Dao looked at the red panda's round face and gave it this name. Then Chen Dao hung Xiaoyuan on his shoulders and went to the kitchen to have dinner with his family. Wow! Chen Fei had sharp eyes. She immediately spotted the red panda lying on Chen Dao's shoulder and trotted over to Chen Dao. She stared at the cute panda without blinking. "Brother, what kind of animal is this? It's so beautiful." Shen Titan also ran over immediately and wanted to reach out and touch the red panda, but he was a little scared. "This is a red panda," Chen Dao explained to the 2 little guys. "I named it Xiaoyuan. Do you want to play with Xiaoyuan?" "I want to." The 2 children nodded at the same time. Children really have no resistance to cute creatures like red pandas. Chapter 43 Effortless. Here you go. Chen Dao took the red panda off his shoulder and handed it to Chen Fei. The red panda was not afraid of strangers. It followed Chen Fei's outstretched hand and climbed onto Chen Fei's shoulder. It squinted its eyes on Chen Fei's shoulder as if it was sleeping. "So cute." Shen Titan reached out and gently stroked the red panda's fur. When he saw that the red panda didn't react at all, he stroked it even more happily. The 2 children returned to their seats while touching the red panda. At this time the food was served on the table. The meal tonight was quite rich. In addition to steamed buns, Lai Ping and He Kuilian also cooked an egg drop soup. Everyone ate the sorghum-steamed buns with the egg drop soup and enjoyed it very much. After dinner, Chen Dao took the little panda from the reluctant Chen Fei and returned to his bedroom. Chen Dao, lying on the bed, looked at the little panda sleeping in his arms with a thoughtful look on his face. Red pandas are animals that eat bamboo, and they also eat berries and other things. The fruit and old rice are definitely not something that can be fed to the red pandas for the time being. But bamboo leaves are not in short supply in Chenjia village, which is close to Kangming Mountain, so there is no need to worry about not being able to feed the red pandas. Next time you go into the city, you can ask about the blood jade bamboo leaves. With this thought in mind, Chen Dao quickly fell asleep. 5 days passed quietly. At Chen Dao's construction site, Chen Cheng and his 4 companions as well as Chen Dao were still building the main structure of the house in full swing. Chen Dao was standing in the yard of the Chen family with a look of joy in his eyes. At this time, the number of yellow feathered chickens in the cage has reached 24. This is a number that surprised Chen Dao extremely, because among these 24 yellow feathered chickens, the number of adult yellow feathered chickens reached 7. After Chen Dao sold 2 yellow feathered chickens, there were only 4 adult yellow feathered chickens left. The reason why there are 7 now is naturally because the 3 chicks that were hatched at the beginning have already grown up. 8 days. It's only 8 days to become an adult. Such a growth rate. Chen Dao was shocked. In his previous life, the fast-growing white-feathered chickens used by fast food restaurants like KFC would take at least 20 days to reach the standard for marketability, but the yellow-feathered chickens he raised only needed 8 days. If this happened in China in the past, the people would probably regard the chickens as unhealthy, even poisonous, or injected with growth hormones. But Chen Dao knew very well that he absolutely could not have high-tech things like growth hormones for the yellow-feathered chickens, and it was even more impossible for him to feed them chemical feed. Instead, they were raised with pure natural grains. The reason why they can reach adulthood in 8 days is simply because the yellow-feathered chicken is a unique breed, and it is definitely not because they are fed growth hormones or feed containing hormones. At this rate of reproduction and growth, I'm afraid this cage won't be enough in less than a month. At this moment, Chen Dao particularly hopes that his house can be built as soon as possible, otherwise he will really have no place to raise chickens. In addition, as the number of chickens increased, food consumption also increased. The sorghum rice bran and other food purchased last time have almost been consumed. We have to start breeding blood-feathered chickens. Chen Dao pondered. He knew very well that although white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens were more expensive, they could only provide enough food for his family. If he wanted to get rich, he had to cultivate the kind of chickens that warriors needed, which was blood-feathered chickens. The warriors in this world have a transcendent status and are one of the wealthiest groups of people. Only things sold to warriors can be sold at high prices and generate sufficient profits. Thinking of this, Chen Dao immediately returned to the house, took out 3 blood-clotting fruits, and gave them to the 3 yellow-feathered chickens that had just reached adulthood to eat. Cluck, cluck, cluck! 3 yellow-feathered chickens that had just reached adulthood were pecking at the blood-clotting fruit that Chen Dao had placed on the ground. At the same time, Xiao Hai also ran over with a chuckle and begged Chen Dao for food. Xiao Yuan, who had been lying on Chen Dao's shoulder, also made a whimpering sound, and it was obvious that she was also hungry. They are all foodies. Chen Dao returned to the house in distress and took out sorghum and rice bran to feed Xiao Hai. Then Chen Dao took the little panda out to his own construction site. Uncle Chen. Chen Dao stopped Chen Da, who was carrying wood, and said, "Please take me to find some bamboo." Chen Da glanced at the little panda on Chen Dao's shoulder and nodded knowingly. "Come with me." Soon Chen Dao and Chen Da arrived at a bamboo forest at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Yuan seemed particularly excited when she came to the bamboo forest. She jumped off Chen Dao's body with a cry and nibbled on the fresh bamboo. "Brother Dao, just stay here and don't go inside." Chen Da pointed in the direction of the mountain in a secretive manner. This bamboo forest was on the edge of Kangming Mountain, with fewer wild animals, so it was a relatively safe place. If one went deeper, it would be the area where Chen Da used to hunt. Various wild animals would pop up from time to time, which was very dangerous. "I know, uncle. Then I'll go back to work." After Chen Da left, Chen Dao sat under a bamboo tree, waiting for Xiao Yuan to eat while looking into the depths of the vast mountain. Kangming Mountain is mysterious and dangerous. Even the villagers of Chenjia village who live at the foot of the mountain know very little about this mountain. Not to mention the villagers of Chenjia village, even Chen Da, the hunter, has very limited knowledge of Kangming Mountain. When going into the mountains to hunt, Chen Da only dared to hunt on the outskirts of Kangming Mountain and never dared to go deep into it. According to Chen Da, he once saw a group of warriors enter the depths of Kangming Mountain from the direction of Chenjia village, and then never came out again. Even warriors who enter cannot survive, which shows how dangerous it is in the depths of Kangming Mountain. Oh, oh, oh. But at this moment, Xiaoyuan made a happy cry. Shen Dao looked in the direction of the sound and saw Xiaoyuan standing up with a hint of anxiety on her round little face. In front of Xiaoyuan was a particularly unique bamboo. The leaves on the bamboo were completely different from the ordinary emerald green leaves. Instead, they were blood red in color. Under the sunlight, the leaves sparkled like jade. Oh my! Because the bamboo leaves were too high, Xiaoyuan couldn't reach them, so she quickly ran to Chen Dao and bit the corner of Chen Dao's clothes, as if asking Chen Dao for help. Isn't this the blood jade bamboo leaf? Chen Dao walked to the bamboo tree and looked up. The bamboo leaves are red and gleam with a jade-like luster. They may be one of the materials needed for the red panda to advance. Blood jade bamboo leaves. This is really easy to get. Shen Dao stretched out his hand and shook the bamboo pole violently. Soon, red bamboo leaves fell from the sky. Xiaoyuan happily picked up a bamboo leaf and put it in her mouth to chew. Judging from Xiaoyuan's performance, this thing is most likely a blood jade bamboo leaf. Shen Dao judged that based on past experience, advanced materials are often very attractive to animals that need advancement. When Chen Dao took out the blood-clotting fruit to feed the yellow-feathered chickens, Xiaoyuan seemed particularly restless and seemed to want to eat the blood-clotting fruit very much. The fact that Xiaoyuan likes this red bamboo leaf so much means that this thing is very likely one of the blood jade bamboo leaves needed for advancement. In this way, Xiaoyuan won't have to go to the county town to find the materials for her advancement. Thinking of this, Chen Dao shook the bamboo pole more violently and red bamboo leaves fluttered down with the wind. Shen Dao swiftly collected all the bamboo leaves, and then quickly took Xiaoyuan back to Chen's home, took out a blood-clotting fruit and handed it to Xiaoyuan. Oh my! Xiaoyuan excitedly held a blood-clotting fruit in her hands and nibbled the flesh in small bites, with a human-like look of joy on her face. Chapter 44 Blood Claw Chicken and Red Blood Chicken Brother, where's Madoka? We want to play with her. Shen Fei and Chen Titan ran out of the house happily, and the first thing they said was that they wanted to find Xiaoyuan. Shen Dao handed Xiaoyuan, who had finished eating the blood-clotting fruit, to them and said, "You guys can play with Xiaoyuan. Brother is going out." "Okay, brother." After leaving Xiaoyuan to play with the two children, Chen Dao came to the construction site and worked with Chen Da and others to do some work within his ability. 3 days passed. That morning, Chen Dao stood in front of the chicken coop with joy in his eyes. At this time, the total number of chickens in the chicken coop had reached 30, including 8 adult yellow-feathered chickens, 19 young yellow-feathered chickens, and the remaining 3 were blood-feathered chickens. Advancement successful. Shen Dao looked at the blood-feathered chicken in the cage, his joy beyond words. At the same time, the blood-feathered chicken's advancement information appeared in Shen Dao's sight. Blood-feathered chicken, features, small size, chicken meat and chicken blood can strengthen Kai and blood. Blood-feathered chicken advancement route 1. Feed blood Ganoderma lucidum for 5 consecutive days to advance to blood claw chicken. Blood claw chicken features. Large size, swift movements, combat power comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior. Blood feather chicken advancement route 2. Mash the heartgrass and phoenix tail flower into juice. Feed it for 5 consecutive days and it can be advanced to red blood chicken. Characteristics of red blood chicken. Chicken blood and chicken can nourish Kai and blood, and the effect is even greater than that of blood feathered chicken. Blood claw chicken and red claw chicken. Chen Dao looked thoughtful. There were also 2 routes for advancement this time. One was to advance to a fighting chicken, and the other was to advance to a broiler chicken. The chicken breeds that can be produced by these 2 advanced routes look very good. Among them, the blood claw chicken's combat power is comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior, and although the description of the red blood chicken is a bit vague, Shen Dao can roughly conclude based on his previous experience. The red blood chicken's effect in nourishing Kai and blood is definitely better than that of the blood feather chicken. It's a pity that advanced medicinal materials are becoming increasingly difficult to obtain. Shen Dao sighed. He had never heard of the blood Ganoderma lucidum, which is an advanced version of the blood claw chicken. Moreover, it goes without saying that any medicinal herb with the word Ganoderma in its name must be expensive. As for the advanced materials for the red blood chicken, there is no shortage of chicken heart grass and old rice, but as for phoenix tail flower, I'm afraid I'll have to go to the county town to inquire about it. Shen Dao guessed that blood Ganoderma and phoenix tail flower were most likely medicinal herbs used by warriors, and the medicinal herbs used by warriors were often extremely expensive. Let's think about advancement later. Shen Dao put the matter of advancement aside for the moment and looked at the 3 blood feather chickens in the cage. Now that the blood feather chicken, a breed of chicken that is effective against warriors, has been bred, the next step is to consider selling them. But Shen Dao hasn't figured out how to sell this thing. Because the blood feather chicken a chicken breed that is useful to warriors, is really too precious. If Chen Dao takes it to the market to sell, it is hard to guarantee that it will not be targeted by others. You know, the entire Xia kingdom is in turmoil now. The court and government have no control over the people below, and the majesty of the law has disappeared. Things like murder and robbery are not impossible to happen. The last time he went to the county town, Chen Dao saw with his own eyes several bandits rushing out of the woods beside the official road, forcibly abducting 2 women from a family of 3 and all their money and food. In other words, Chen Dao and his gang seemed to be difficult to deal with, otherwise they would probably become one of the prey of those bandits. Of course, what Chen Dao was worried about was not the bandits but the powerful forces in the county. Once those big powers knew that I had the blood-feather chicken, which was as powerful as a demon beast, I was afraid that there would be only 2 possible outcomes for me. One is that it died suddenly and inexplicably, and then the blood-feather chicken fell into the hands of those powerful forces for their research. The second was that he was imprisoned and tortured by those powerful forces, asking about the source of the blood-feather chicken. Neither of these 2 consequences is acceptable to Chen Dao, so Chen Dao plans to wait until Xiao Yuan successfully advances before considering going to the county town to sell blood-feather chickens. As for the destination for selling the blood-feather chicken, Chen Dao had no choice but to sell it to Lai Ying. Chen Dao, who had dealt with Lai Ying several times, still had a good impression of Lai Ying. Lai Ying did not have that kind of condescending air at all and was kind-hearted. He would not do anything to take advantage of others. But even so, Chen Dao still planned to wait for Xiao Yuan to advance successfully before going to the county town. After all, one can never know a person's heart through his appearance. Chen Dao could not guarantee whether Lai Ying would be tempted by the huge benefits of the blood-feather chicken. Only with the protection of the Iron Claw Red Panda, which is equivalent to an 8th-grade warrior, can Chen Dao feel at ease. Hurry up and succeed in your advancement, Madoka. Chen Dao gently stroked Xiao Yuan's chubby head, and Xiao Yuan immediately made a comfortable Chinese letter sound, as if she was enjoying Chen Dao's touch very much. After taking out food from the house to feed Xiao Hai and a group of yellow-feathered chickens and blood-feathered chickens, Chen Dao walked out of the house and came to his own construction site. At this time, Chen Cheng and 4 others were having breakfast, still eating the fragrant sorghum flour buns. When they saw Chen Dao coming over, they all greeted him. Brother Dao is here. Brother Dao, we have some steamed buns here. Would you like to share some? Facing the enthusiastic people, Chen Dao nodded in response, walked straight to Chen Cheng and sat down, and asked with a smile. Brother Cheng, aren't you a little tired of eating steamed buns every day? Tired? How can I be tired? Chen Cheng answered without hesitation. This steamed bun is even more delicious than white rice. How can I get tired of it? Chen Dao was speechless, and then he realized that he had been thinking in the wrong direction. For him, eating steamed buns for every meal was naturally unacceptable. He had to eat some white rice occasionally to change the taste. But for people like Chen Cheng, their family usually eats bran flour, and steamed buns are many times more delicious to them than bran flour, so there is no possibility of getting tired of it. Brother Dao. Chen Dao came over and said, the house is already half built. I estimate that it will be completed in about half a month. Hearing this, Chen Dao looks towards the construction site, only to see that the outline of the house had already appeared. Just as Chen Dao said, in about half a month, the main body of the house should be completed. Thank you for your hard work, uncle and brother Cheng, said Chen Dao. It's hard at all. Shen Cheng waved his hand and said, we would rather work in your house every day than eat steamed buns every day. Yes, yes. The others nodded in agreement like chicks pecking at rice. The time they spent working for Chen Dao's family was probably the happiest time for them. They had steamed buns every day to fill their stomachs. This was not the case in the peaceful years before. They had never had such a good life, let alone in the disaster years now. Chapter 45 Iron Claw Red Panda. After breakfast, Chen Cheng and others started to get busy, some cutting trees and some cutting wood. Chen Dao also participated and did some work within his ability, such as passing wood to Chen Jiang and others who were building the house. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. The first thing Chen Dao did when he opened his eyes that day was to lift the quilt and look at Xiao Yuan, who was curled up in his quilt. Iron Claw Red Panda. Features: swift movement, sharp claws, combat power comparable to that of an 8th grade warrior. Iron Claw Red Panda Advancement Route 1. Feed it with blood coagulating fruit and blood Ganoderma for 5 days and it can be advanced to Sharp Blade Red Panda. Features of the Blade Panda. Its claws are long and sharp and can break through the defense of a 7th grade warrior. Its combat power is comparable to that of an 8th grade peak warrior. Iron Claw Red Panda Advancement Route 2. Feed it with iron heart, bamboo and bear blood flour for 5 days to advance to Gold Claw Red Panda. Features of the Golden Claw Red Panda. Extremely fast, and its combat power is comparable to that of a 7th grade warrior. Advancement successful. Shen Dao was instantly overwhelmed by the feeling of ecstasy. He took Xiao Yuan out of the bed and carefully examined her changes. It seems like nothing has changed? After a careful inspection, Shen Dao couldn't help but frowned. The information that emerged in his sight let him know that Xiao Yuan had successfully advanced to become an iron-clawed red panda, but Xiao Yuan's appearance had not changed much, and she was still so cute and harmless. Wrong. Shen Dao's sight quickly fell on Xiao Yuan's claws, only to see that Xiao Yuan's claws had become much longer and looked sharper. Before, the red panda's paws felt more like plastic, but this time when Shen Dao touched it, he felt a cold, sharp, and solid touch. The paws also shone with a metallic luster, almost the same as iron. I wonder how powerful this claw is. Shen Dao carried Xiao Yuan to the front yard, pointed at a stone the size of a human head in the yard, and said to Xiao Yuan, attack this stone. Oh my! Xiao Yuan responded immediately, jumped off Shen Dao's body, and swung her claws at the stone. Laugh! A sharp and piercing sound was heard, and the next moment, in Shen Dao's sight, several dents made by Xiao Yuan appeared on the stone the size of a human head. Fuck! Shen Dao stared at the dents on the stone with wide eyes, and had a deep understanding of Xiao Yuan's attack power. Even such a hard stone could leave dents. If Xiao Yuan's claws grabbed a person, the person would probably be torn to pieces in minutes, right? You're awesome, Madoka. Shen Dao excitedly picked up Xiao Yuan and kissed her furry face madly. Oh my! Xiao Yuan seemed to enjoy her master's kiss very much and made whimpering sounds of pleasure. She seemed to be a completely different species from the red panda that had just scratched the stone with its claws. Haha! Looking at the cute Xiao Yuan, Shen Dao liked her even more. He rubbed Xiao Yuan's head and became happier and happier the more he rubbed. Daor, what are you doing here? But at this moment, Lai Ping and Hikui Lion came out of the house carrying lunch buckets. Seeing Shen Dao rubbing his little round head frantically, they asked with a smile. Fine. Shen Dao waved his hand and said, Mom, I'll go out with you. So the three of them left Chen's house and headed towards the construction site. At this time, under a big tree beside the construction site, Chen Cheng and others were sitting under the tree to avoid the wind. Although they felt a little cold, their hearts were very warm. They were looking forward to the steamed bun dinner later. Brother Dao is here? Shen Shi immediately noticed Chen Dao's arrival and walked up to him and asked, Brother Dao, are we still eating steamed buns today? Certainly. Shen Dao smiled and nodded, but you don't have to work after breakfast today. No need to work? When Chen Cheng and others heard that they didn't have to work, they showed uneasy expressions, which was unusual for them. Brother Dao, Chen Cheng asked anxiously, aren't you going to repair your house? During this period of time, Chen Cheng has completely fallen in love with working at Chen Dao. Although the daily physical labor is quite intense, he can eat his fill and there are delicious foods such as steamed buns, which he has never experienced before. Yes, Brother Dao. The house is only half built. We can't just stop, right? Shen Jiang said cautiously, fearing that Chen Dao would say that the house would not be built anymore. Brother Dao, did we eat too much? Can we eat less next time? Shen Shi asked with a worried look on his face. He had finally found a place to eat. If Chen Dao's house was not built, then the three brothers would have to go back to their previous life of hunger. Don't worry. The house will definitely be completed. Chen Dao smiled and said, the reason why I'm not working today is that I need you to go to the city with me. Going into the city? Hearing that the house was not to be built, the three Chen Cheng brothers breathed a sigh of relief, while Chen Jiang and Chen Xi's eyes lit up. They were the ones who yearned for the county town the most and liked to go to the county town the most. As for Chen Da, he seemed to be thinking about something. He guessed that Chen Dao was going to the county town to sell chickens. In fact, not only Chen Dao, but Chen Da himself also planned to go to the city. The 13 gray-feathered chickens he bought last time had all been upgraded to white-feathered chickens. In addition, the few white-feathered chickens that were originally left at home also successfully hatched 3 new white-feathered chicks. Chen Cheng's home is now overcrowded with chickens. It's time to sell some of them. Otherwise, keeping them at home would be a waste of food. Uncle, please go to the village chief's house and borrow the donkey cart. Chen Dao signaled Chen Da to borrow a donkey cart, while he accompanied Chen Cheng and the other 4 to have breakfast. This steamed bun is really good. Chen Shi took a steamed bun from Hikui Lian and took a big bite. He praised it highly. I will never get tired of it. It is not like bran flour. If I am not extremely hungry, I can't eat it at all. Everyone nodded when they heard this. How could the taste of steamed buns be compared to that of bran flour? If Daojer's family stops working from now on, I don't know what to do. Shen Jiang half-jokingly said, my appetite has been spoiled by Daojer's steamed buns. I don't know if I can eat the food at home in the future. Yes. Compared to steamed buns, the food at home is almost like pig food. Chen Xishan nodded in agreement. Although he and Chen Jiang's families were not as poor as Chen Sheng's, they did not have much to eat. Most of the time they ate bran flour and only occasionally some sorghum flour. The taste was far from comparable to the fragrant and sweet steamed buns. Shen Dao listened quietly to everyone's speeches. He just felt that the people in this world were too easily satisfied. In his previous life, due to the developed productivity, people had already gotten rid of hunger and had extremely high demands for food. Not only did they have to have meat for every meal, but the meat also had to be delicious enough. They were not as easily satisfied as the people in this world. They would praise the steamed buns after eating a few meals and would never get tired of them. Chapter 46 Master of Fuhu Pavilion. Not long after, Chen Da drove the donkey cart back. Many villagers who were watching nearby looked at Chen Da on the donkey cart and looked at each other in confusion. Did Chen Da go to the village chief's house to borrow a donkey cart again? Are we going into the city? We must be going to buy food. Chen Da and Dao Jer's family are really rich. They can still go to the city to buy food every few days. Facing the envious gazes of the nearby villagers, Chen Da and Chen Dao returned home together, tied up all the chickens that needed to be sold and put them into cages. Then they got on the donkey cart with Chen Cheng and the other four, left Chenjia village and walked onto the official road. On the long official road, you can still see refugees, some alone, some with their families. All of them are skinny and ragged. There were even many refugees stopping outside Chenjia village, as if they wanted to enter the village to beg for food, but they were destined to be unable to enter, because the village chief Chen he organized the young and strong men in the village to guard the village every day to strictly prevent the refugees who wanted to break into the village. As the donkey cart approached the county town, a foul odor hit us in the face. The shacks built by refugees were densely scattered outside the city in a haphazard manner, with feces and urine everywhere. The entire outside of the city seemed like a filthy world. In addition, Chen Dao also saw many refugees lying on the ground with lifeless eyes. These refugees probably could not find food, nor did they have the strength to build huts, so they could only lie on the ground and wait to die. Well, Shen Dao sighed lightly and forced himself to suppress the compassion in his heart. After paying 10 cents, he entered the city with Chen Da and others and went straight to the gate of Fuhu Martial Arts School. Brother Y, please help me call Miss Lai. As per convention, after stuffing 10 copper coins into YG's hands, YG entered the hall and called Lai Ying out. Brother Chen is here. When Lai Ying saw Chen Dao, her smile was still so friendly. For her, who is a foodie, everyone who sells her high-end ingredients can win her favor. Miss Lai, can you please spare me a moment to talk? Chen Dao pulled Lai Ying to the side mysteriously. Lai Ying didn't think much of it and followed Chen Dao to a slightly farther place. After making sure that the distance was enough for YG, Chen Da, and the others to not hear his conversation, Chen Dao lowered his voice and said, Miss Lai, I brought some special chickens this time. Are you interested? Special chicken? Lai Ying's eyes lit up, and she couldn't wait to ask, how is it special? Chen Dao thought for a moment, then organized his words and said, when we went into the mountains 2 days ago, we caught a kind of chicken we had never seen before. The chicken was very small, but its feathers were as red as blood. According to the old hunters in the village, this chicken is likely to be of great benefit to warriors. It will be of great benefit to warriors? Lai Ying's pupils shrank, and she asked in surprise, are you telling the truth? It's no wonder that Lai Ying was so shocked. It was because prey that was useful to warriors was too rare. As far as Lai Ying knew, the only prey in the world that was effective against warriors was monsters. If what Chen Dao said was true, then that meant, did Chen Dao and his team capture the monster? This is just our guess. Of course Chen Dao didn't dare to make a guarantee, so he could only say vaguely, this is the judgment of the old hunters in the village. They suspect that this kind of chicken is likely to have the blood of a monster beast, which can help warriors strengthen their kai and blood. Monster bloodline? Lai Ying frowned and thought for a moment, then said to Chen Dao, Brother Chen, wait for me for a moment. After saying that, Lai Ying turned around and ran into the martial arts hall. Not long after, Lai Ying returned and said to Chen Dao, Brother Chen, my father wants to see you. Lai Ying's father isn't that Lai Hu, the owner of Fuhu Boxing Gym? According to the information Chen Dao had heard, Lai Hu, the owner of the Fuhu Boxing Gym, was an 8th-rank martial artist and was considered one of the best warriors in the entire county. If such a person wanted to see him, Chen Dao gently stroked Xiaoyuan who was lying on his shoulder and nodded, okay. Bring your chicken with you. My dad wants to take a look at it. Okay. Chen Dao gestured to Chen Da and others to wait for him outside, and then he carried the chicken cage and walked into the Fuhu boxing gym with Lai Ying. After passing through the door of the boxing gym, an empty lobby comes into view. Inside the lobby, tall and straight young men are boxing in a methodical manner. Next to these young men, there was a very tall man who was correcting their posture. "That's my second apprentice, brother Han Meng." Lai Ying noticed Chen Dao's gaze and introduced him. "Nowadays, my father rarely teaches the apprentices in the martial arts hall himself. Usually, it is done by my second, junior brother. My second junior brother is very talented and is now a 9th grade peak warrior. He will soon catch up with my father." Shen Dao nodded and said, "Then Miss Lai, are you the senior sister?" "Certainly." Lai Ying puffed out her chest and said proudly, "Don't underestimate second junior brother. He has to address me as senior sister when he sees me." "Awesome." Shen Dao smiled and complimented Lai Ying. At the same time, many apprentices practicing martial arts in the martial arts hall also noticed Chen Dao, but they lost interest after just a glance. From the way Chen Dao was dressed, it could be seen at a glance that he was not the same kind of person as them, and was not worthy of their attention at all. Only Han Meng, who was as tall as Chen Cheng, trotted over and greeted Lai Ying in a naive manner, "Big sister." Lai Ying nodded. Han Meng then looked at Chen Dao and asked, "Who is this little brother?" "My name is Chen Dao." "Hello, Brother Chen." Han Meng scratched his head and said, "Brother Chen, are you here to learn martial arts as well?" "No." Chen Dao had no intention of explaining. Lai Ying said, "My father wants to see him." "Junior brother Han, we will talk in detail later." "Okay." After passing through the lobby of the martial arts hall, we arrived at the backyard of the hall. There was only one figure sitting on a stone chair in the empty backyard. Chen Dao recognized the man at a glance. It was the owner of the Fuhu boxing gym, Lai Hu. "Father." As expected, Lai Ying, who came to the backyard, called out Lai Hu's identity and said, "I brought Brother Chen here." Lai Hu nodded at Lai Ying, then pointed to the stone chair opposite him and said to Chen Dao, "Little brother, please sit down." "Thank you, Master Lai." Chen Dao thanked him, walked straight to sit opposite Lai Hu, and quietly looked at Lai Hu opposite him. The warriors that Lai Hu and Chen Dao imagined were very different. In Chen Dao's opinion, a strong warrior should be as tall as Han Meng and Chen Cheng, but Lai Hu's stature was not particularly tall. He was estimated to be only 1.7 meters tall. In the cold weather, Lai Hu was only wearing a short-sleeved shirt, and his exposed arms were bulging with muscles like a sculpture, giving people a feeling of great power. Lai Hu glanced at Xiao Yuan on Chen Dao's shoulder casually, and said to him, "Little brother, you said you caught a chicken with the blood of a demon beast?" Chapter 47 The Effective Chicken Blood. Master Lai, please take a look. Chen Dao picked up the chicken cage beside his feet and placed it on the stone table in front of him. "This is the chicken we caught from the Kangmei Mountains. The feathers of this chicken are as red as blood. It is a breed we have never seen before. According to the speculation of the old hunter in our village, this is very likely a breed of chicken with the blood of a demon beast." The old hunter's guess was naturally Chen Dao's nonsense excuse. He said that just to increase the credibility of the blood-feathered chicken having the blood of a monster. However, Chen Dao's words did arouse Lai Hu's interest. Lai Hu moved closer and looked at the blood-feathered chicken in the cage. He saw that the chicken in the cage was extremely small, even smaller than the common domestic gray-feathered chicken. It was indeed as Chen Dao said, with bright red feathers all over its body, which made it extraordinary at first glance. "This chicken is indeed different." Lai Hu stood up and looked down at the chicken in the cage, thinking, "Are you sure that this chicken has the effect of strengthening the blood like a beast with the blood of a demon beast?" "I can't be sure." Chen Dao told the truth, "So I brought the chicken to Miss Lai to have a look. If this chicken really has the effect of strengthening the blood as the hunter in our village said, then we will discuss the price. If not, then this deal will be cancelled." "Oh?" Lai Hu turned his gaze to Chen Dao, sizing up the young man and secretly admired him. As one of the top 10 most influential people in Taiping County, Lai Hu has seen too many young people who are timid in front of him. Not to mention the apprentices in the martial arts gym, who doesn't shrink back when seeing Lai Hu. However, Chen Dao, the farmer's boy as described by his daughter, was neither humble nor arrogant when facing him. He spoke clearly and there was no fear in his eyes. This courage alone was enough to make Lai Hu look at him with new eyes. "You mean, you're willing to give us a chicken for the experiment?" Lai Hu said with admiration in his eyes. "Certainly." Chen Dao took a blood-feathered chicken out of the cage and said, "Master, please take a chicken to taste. If this chicken really has the effect of strengthening the blood, we can discuss the price. If not, I will take this batch of chickens back." Shen Dao naturally knew that this batch of blood-feathered chickens really had the effect of strengthening Kai and blood, so he was not worried about the results of the experiment. He was only worried that Lai Hu might seize them by trickery. Fortunately, Xiao Yuan lying on his shoulder can give Chen Dao some sense of security. Good. Lai Hu took the blood-feathered chicken and handed it to Lai Ying, saying, "Yingzi, kill this chicken and give me some blood to taste." No problem. Lai Ying was quite skilled in killing chickens. He quickly carried the chicken into a nearby kitchen. Within a few moments, the screams of a bloody chicken were heard from the kitchen. Then Lai Ying came out of the kitchen holding a bowl of chicken blood that had not yet coagulated, and said to Lai Hu, "Dad, try it." Lai Hu took the bowl of chicken blood and explained to Chen Dao, "The blood of any beast with the blood of a demon beast will strengthen the blood of a warrior. If this bowl of chicken blood can work, it means that your chickens really have the blood of a demon beast." After saying that, Lai Hu picked up the bowl and drank all the chicken blood in the bowl without any dislike for the fishy smell of the chicken blood. "It tastes good." Lai Hu, who had drunk all the chicken blood, wiped the remaining blood from the corner of his mouth with his sleeve. Then, his face froze and he stood there in a daze. This chicken blood Lai Hu only felt a warm current rising in his stomach, and then, this warm current spread from the abdomen to the whole body, making the blood in Lai Hu's body seem to boil. The exposed skin and face were all red, which was a manifestation of the surging of Qi and blood in the body. It really works. Lai Ying's eyes lit up. As a 9th rank warrior, she was very familiar with Lai Hu's performance at this moment. It was a manifestation of the boiling of Qi and blood in her body and the increase of Qi and blood power. Wait a moment. Unable to suppress the boiling blood in his body, Lai Hu walked directly to the open space in the backyard, waved his fists, and performed the family martial art of subduing the tiger fist to calm the surging blood and energy in his body. Call! After a long while, Lai Hu exhaled a breath of hot air. The redness on his skin and face gradually faded away and he returned to the stone table and sat down. "Dad, how's the effect?" Lai Ying asked impatiently. Effect Lai Hu felt the condition in his body and gave a very high evaluation. "The effect is very good, several times better than ordinary medicinal herbs." This bowl of chicken blood increased the energy and blood in Lai Hu's body a little bit. Although the amount was not much, it was a very pleasant surprise for Lai Hu. You know, for Lai Hu, who has reached the peak of the 8th grade warrior, to increase his Qi and blood, he needs to practice boxing diligently for at least a month. As for using medicinal herbs to help with cultivation, for Lai Hu at this level, the medicinal herbs that can be bought in a county town are no longer effective for him. However, a bowl of blood from the blood feather chicken saved Lai Hu a month's work, which shows how extraordinary the effect of the blood feather chicken is. Chen Dao breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Lai Hu's evaluation. It was good that the blood feather chicken could get Lai Hu's approval. In this way, his blood feather chicken would not have to worry about sales. That means the chicken that Brother Chen brought really has the blood of a monster? Lai Ying asked. I'm not sure if there is any demon beast bloodline, but the effect of strengthening Qi and blood is real. Lai Hu turned to look at Chen Dao and said, "Little brother, let's talk about the price." Chen Dao naturally didn't know the price of this thing, so he could only say, "Why don't you tell me what price you are willing to pay first, mister?" Lai Hu glanced at Chen Dao and said, 10 taels of silver per piece. How about that? Too cheap. Master Lai, are you taking advantage of my youth and ignorance? Chen Dao shook his head and said, as far as I know, a common herb that can help a 9th grade warrior strengthen his Qi and blood needs to be sold for at least 20 taels of silver. The blood-feathered chicken is more effective than the herb, so it shouldn't be 10 taels of silver per chicken. This was the reason why Chen Dao gave up on becoming a warrior, and also the reason why Lai Ying persuaded Chen Dao to give up practicing martial arts. In this world, medicinal herbs suitable for warriors were too expensive and simply not affordable for a farmer like Chen Dao. Of course, what we are talking about here are medicinal herbs used by warriors. If they are medicinal herbs used by apprentices in martial arts schools, the price would probably be cheaper. However, no matter how cheap it is still not something that a farmer like Chen Dao can afford. Well, Lai Hu felt somewhat guilty after his thoughts were exposed. He scratched his head unnaturally and laughed awkwardly. You can't say that. Although your chicken is better than herbs. Before Lai Hu could finish, Chen Dao held up 2 fingers and said, 20 taels of silver each. What do you think, Master Lai? Chapter 48 Subduing Tiger Fist 20 taels? Lai Hu's eyes lit up, and he said without thinking, deal. Chen Dao was speechless, feeling that the price he mentioned was still a little low, but since he had already said it, it was difficult to refute it. So he said, then let's start the transaction. Become. Lai Hu said to Lai Ying, Yingzi, go get 100 taels of silver. Chen Dao brought over 5 blood-feather chickens, each costing 20 taels, and 100 taels of silver was just enough to buy them all. Lai Ying ran into the house and returned with a money bag in a short while. He handed it to Chen Dao and said, "Brother Chen, this is 100 taels of silver. Count it." Chen Dao took the purse, opened it in front of Lai Ying, and counted the money. After confirming that the 100 taels of silver were exactly the same, Chen Dao smiled and said, "Thank you for your generosity, Master Lai." To be honest, Chen Dao was quite satisfied with the price of 20 taels per blood feather chicken. The most important thing was that Lai Hu and his daughter did not choose to rob his blood feather chicken out of greed, but chose a normal transaction. In this way, he can sell more blood feather chickens to Lai Hu with confidence in the future. Lai Hu, who bought 5 blood feather chickens at such a cheap price of 100 taels of silver, was also very happy, and said with a smile, "You are too polite, little brother." After saying that, Lai Hu looked at Chen Dao and asked, "Little brother, do you have any plans to learn martial arts?" Chen Dao was startled when he heard this, and looked at Lai Ying and said, "Can I learn martial arts too?" "Of course I can." Lai Hu smiled and said, "Everyone in this world can learn martial arts. The only difference is the talent. Of course, talent is not the key to success in martial arts. The real key to success lies in resources." "Resource? Good." Lai Hu nodded and said, "Everyone can learn martial arts, but even those with extraordinary talents cannot avoid the biggest obstacle of resources if they want to become martial artists. A portion of medicinal materials used by apprentice-level martial artists requires 5 taels of silver. The medicinal materials used by 9th grade martial artists are even more expensive, requiring at least 20 taels of silver. How many people do you think can afford the cost of learning martial arts?" Well, Chen Dao was speechless. This price, at least among the people Chen Dao knew, no one could afford it. "Then why does the owner think I can learn martial arts?" "Because you have money." Lai Hu narrowed his eyes and smiled. 100 taels of silver is a drop in the bucket for the cost of practicing martial arts, but if you are lucky enough, it will be enough for you to become a 9th grade martial artist. How about it? Are you interested in coming to my Fuhu boxing gym to practice martial arts? I feel like you were waiting for me here. Chen Dao rolled his eyes. The tuition for Fuhu boxing gym was not cheap. The registration fee for entering the gym to learn martial arts was 10 taels of silver. This did not include the subsequent expenses for using the gym's medicine and other things. It was no exaggeration to say that the cost of learning martial arts in Fuhu boxing gym for a month was at least 30 taels of silver. "Thank you for the kind invitation, master." Chen Dao politely declined, "But I live outside the city, so it's not convenient for me to come to the academy to practice martial arts. Let's just forget about it." "Whatever." Lai Hu was just thinking about giving it a try. Seeing Chen Dao's refusal, he did not force him. Instead, he took out a book from his arms and placed it on the stone table, pushing it in Chen Dao's direction. "Since little brother does not want to learn martial arts in the academy, then I will give this book of Fu Hu Quan to little brother." Chen Dao stared at the book that Lai Hu pushed to him, and saw 4 big characters Fu Hu Quan Pu written on the cover, which made Chen Dao stunned. According to the information he had heard, the subduing tiger fist was the signature skill of the subduing tiger fist gym. He never thought Lai Hu would be so generous as to give away the boxing manual. Suddenly, Chen Dao had a better understanding of Lai Hu's generosity, but he still refused. "This is too expensive, I dare not accept it." "Precious?" Lai Hu and Lai Ying both laughed. Little brother may have believed the rumors outside. Lai Hu smiled and said, "I think the boxing skills of Fuhu Martial Arts School are a family secret and priceless, but in fact, it is not true." "Isn't it?" Chen Dao said with a puzzled look on his face. This was what he heard outside. The martial arts of the 3 major martial arts schools, including the 3 major families in the county, were all top secret and would never be granted to outsiders. "Of course not." Lai Ying said, "Brother Chen, you might as well think about it. If the subduing tiger fist is really so precious, why would we easily teach it to those apprentices outside the hall?" Well, Chen Dao opened his mouth and found that he could not refute. Just as Lai Ying said, the apprentices who practiced martial arts in the lobby outside only needed to pay 10 taels of silver, and they could learn the subduing tiger fist in the martial arts hall. There were even people teaching them personally. If the subduing tiger fist was like this, how could Lai Hu teach it to those apprentices so easily? In fact, martial arts techniques are not that precious. At least the lower 3-grade techniques are not that precious. Lai Hu explained, "Those apprentices outside, if they don't need anyone to teach them and just want to buy a boxing manual, they can buy one for 2 taels of silver. As for why there are rumors that boxing is precious, it's probably because of the cost of practicing martial arts. Compared to the skills, the medicinal materials needed to nourish and strengthen the blood and kai are the biggest problem, and it is also the mountain that prevents thousands of ordinary people from becoming martial artists." "I see." Shen Dao suddenly realized. No wonder Lai Hu was so generous in giving him the boxing manual. It turned out that the boxing method was not as precious as he had imagined. It was only because the cost of practicing martial arts was too high that outsiders felt that the boxing method was extremely precious and could not be obtained without billions of wealth. Brother, just accept this boxing manual with peace of mind. After explaining it clearly, Lai Hu pushed the boxing manual in front of Chen Dao and said, "Young friend, you can practice the moves in the boxing manual. It would be great if you can master it. If not, at least you can learn some basic moves for self-defense." Chen Dao clasped his fists and said, "Then I will be disrespectful to refuse. Practicing martial arts is extremely taxing on the body." Lai Hu warned, "With your physical fitness, practicing the subduing tiger fist once a day is already the limit. Don't be greedy. If you find any discomfort in your body during practice, you must stop immediately, otherwise you will inevitably overconsume yourself and leave hidden injuries." "Thank you for the reminder, Master." Shen Dao thanked him sincerely and felt more favorable towards Lai Hu. As the owner of the Fuhu Boxing Gym, one of the most powerful forces in the county, not only did he not snatch his blood-feathered chicken, he also gave him a precious boxing manual, and even reminded him of some details when practicing martial arts. Lai Hu is indeed a person worth making close friends with. Then let's stop here. After instructing Chen Dao, Lai Hu stood up and said, "Brother, if you still have blood-feathered chickens in the future, you can continue to sell them to me. No matter how many there are, I will buy them at 20 taels each." Chapter 49 Dangerous Cat No Problem. Shen Dao readily agreed. Before leaving, he said to Lai Ying, "Miss Lai, I also brought some white-feathered chickens this time. Are you interested?" White-feathered chicken. Lai Ying's eyes lit up and she said quickly, "Yes. I want as many as I want." Although blood-feathered chicken is delicious, for a foodie like Lai Ying, the meat is still too little. Her favorite are the plump and meaty white-feathered chicken and yellow-feathered chicken. "It's outside, Miss Lai, follow me." The two walked out of the martial arts hall. Shen Dao nodded to Chen Da and others who had been waiting by the donkey cart, and then pointed to the chicken cage on the cart and said to Lai Ying, "Miss Lai, this time we brought a total of 15 white-feathered chickens." Okay. Lai Ying was even happier when he heard the number of 15. He took out some silver and handed it to Chen Dao, 500 coins each. 15 is 7.5 taels of silver. I don't have any copper coins, so I'll just give you 8 taels of silver. Thank you, Miss Lai. Shen Dazui, who was standing nearby and heard the noise, almost laughed his ass off. How could he not be happy just to have 500 more coins for no reason? "YG, come and help me move these chickens in." Lai Ying called the security guard YG to carry the chicken cage into the hall. Chen Dao also took the opportunity to say goodbye. "Miss Lai, we'll leave first." "Brother Chen, take care Tilda." After Chen Dao and his group left in their donkey cart, Lai Ying returned to the backyard, only to see Lai Hu staring at the chicken coop on the table in a daze. "Dad, what are you looking at?" "Of course, look at this blood-feathered chicken." Lai Hu came back to his senses and said subconsciously, "With this blood-feathered chicken, I'm afraid that within 2 months, I will be able to become a 7th-grade warrior." "Real?" Lai Ying was surprised and said that if his father could become a 7th-rank warrior, the survival of his martial arts school in Taiping County would be more secure. "Of course it's true." Lai Hu smiled and nodded. He was also looking forward to the day when he would be promoted to a 7th-rank warrior. Currently, the strongest warrior in Taiping County was of the 7th rank. Once he became a 7th-rank warrior, he would no longer need to act according to the wishes of the 3 major families. Brother Chen is really capable. Lai Ying couldn't help but sigh. Even chickens with the blood of monsters can be caught. I don't know how a group of ordinary villagers can catch so many prey. That little friend Chen is not a simple person. Lai Hu's eyes were deep, and he thought of the seemingly harmless cat-like animal on Chen Dao's shoulder. "Yingzi, didn't you notice that Chen Xiaoyu can read?" "Ah?" Lai Ying obviously didn't notice so many details and asked in confusion, "Isn't Brother Chen a villager outside the city? How can he read?" Nowadays, literacy is not an easy thing, especially for the people in the villages outside the city. There may not be a literate person in the entire village, and there is no way to learn writing at all. That's why I said Chen Xiaoyu is not simple. Lai Hu carefully recalled every detail of his time with Chen Dao, not only because he can read and his conversation is good, but also because of the cat on his shoulder. "Cat?" Lai Ying tilted her head and thought about it. There was indeed a cat lying on Chen Dao's shoulder, but Lai Ying was obviously not the kind of girl with a girlish heart who loved small animals, so she didn't pay too much attention to it. "That cat gives me a very dangerous feeling," Lai Hu said meaningfully. "I even suspect that the cat is as powerful as me." "Ah!" Lai Ying was stunned. His father, Lai Hu, was an 8th-rank peak warrior. What kind of cat could have the same strength as his father? Could it be a demon beast? Anyway, just try your best to be friends with Chen Xiaoyu in the future, Lai Hu warned solemnly. While Lai Hu and his daughter were talking, Chen Dao's donkey cart had already arrived at the East Market and saw Wu Han, who was setting up a stall to sell goods. Brother Wu, Brother Chen is here. After greeting each other, Chen Dao asked with a smile, Brother Wu, how is your business lately? Still the same old bird, Wu Han said with a gloomy face. With the government's order to increase taxes, the chickens and ducks are no longer selling. Brother Chen, look at this street. Apart from us vendors, there are no other customers. Chen Dao looked around and found that it was just as Wu Han had said. There were many peddlers selling goods on the whole street, but very few customers. It looks like Brother Wu isn't having a good time either. Chen Dao sighed, and then said to Wu Han, Brother Wu, I have a business here, I wonder if you are interested. Wu Han is indeed a businessman. When he heard the word business, his eyes immediately lit up. What business? Brother Wu, do you remember the white-feathered chickens I sold here before? White-feathered chicken. Of course I remember. Wu Han nodded repeatedly. He had a very deep memory of Chen Dao's white-feathered chicken, for no other reason than that the white-feathered chicken looked extremely good and was successfully sold at a high price of 500 coins. I plan to give the white-feathered chicken to you, Brother Wu, to sell. What do you think? Chen Dao lowered his voice and said that with the successful breeding of blood-feather chickens and their sale at high prices, Chen Dao has become somewhat disdainful of the business of white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens. After all, the profit from selling white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens is much lower than that from selling blood-feathered chickens. To use the words of the previous life, the added value of the two chicken breeds, white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens, is relatively low. In addition, every time he sold white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens, Chen Dao had to go into the city in person, which was really too troublesome. So Chen Dao thought that instead of selling white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens himself, it would be better to hand over the business to others, and he would only need to control the high-value chicken breeds such as blood-feathered chickens. The person who did this was the familiar Wu Han. As a peddler in the city, Wu Han must have some connections in the county. If this matter is handed over to him, there will definitely be no problems. Really? Wu Han's eyes lit up even more. He had been coveting Chen Dao's white-feathered chicken for a long time. Those were white-feathered chickens that looked great and cost 500 wen each. If he could control the supply, wouldn't that mean that the profit would be very considerable? Real? Chen Dao nodded seriously. Recently, hunters in our village have found a large number of white-feathered chickens in the Kangnang Mountains. We don't plan to sell these white-feathered chickens ourselves. We are looking for a businessman who is familiar with the situation in the county to cooperate with. If Brother Wu is interested, we can discuss the specific details of the cooperation. I'm interested. Wu Han grabbed Chen Dao's hand eagerly and said, Brother Chen, please leave this business to me. Don't worry, Brother Wu. We are so familiar with each other. Who else can I give this business to if not you? Brother Chen is so generous. I, old Wu, have made friends with you for nothing. Chapter 50 Calculation. After some pleasantries, Chen Dao talked about the price of white-feathered chickens. Brother Wu, I can give you the business of white-feathered chickens, but the price. Chen Dao dragged out the last syllable and finally said, how about 400 coins for each one? 400 coins each. Wu Han's eyes rolled around, and he was calculating in his mind whether he could make money by charging 400 wen for a white-feathered chicken. Based on the price of 500 wen for a white-feathered chicken that Chen Dao sold before, I would definitely make money by purchasing them at 400 wen each. But nowadays, there are fewer and fewer customers buying chickens in the city. Wu Han is not sure whether he can sell the white-feathered chicken he bought for 400 wen for 500 wen. After hesitating for a while, Wu Han said, Brother Chen, isn't 400 coins a bit too expensive? There are only a few people in the city who buy chickens to eat now. Although your white-feathered chicken is good, it may not be able to sell for the high price of 500 coins as before. Please rest assured, Brother Wu. Chen Dao smiled and said, I have already found a buyer for you. You only need to purchase the white-feathered chickens from our village and then sell them directly to Miss Lai Ying from the Fuhu Boxing Gym. The reason why Chen Dao approached Wu Han was to save himself the trouble of going into the city. As for the problem of not being able to sell the products, that didn't exist. Lai Ying, a foodie, can buy all the white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens in Chenjia village for the time being. As for what to do if there are more white-feathered and yellow-feathered chickens in the future and Lai Ying can't buy them, it's not too late to lower the price then. Meat is indispensable to human beings. As long as you are willing to lower the price, there is no possibility that it cannot be sold. You've even found a buyer for me? Wu Han was delighted because he had found the buyer, Chen Dao, for him. He only needed to purchase white feather chickens from Chenjia village and ship them over. This was such a simple business with good profits that even a fool would know how to do it. That's fine with me. Brother Chen, I'll take over your business. Become. Chen Dao nodded and said, then from now on, Brother Wu, you can come to our village every 3 days and transport the white-feathered chickens we caught to the city to sell. 3 days is exactly the cycle for raising white-feathered chickens and yellow-feathered chickens. Wu Han comes once every 3 days, which corresponds exactly to this cycle. So it's settled then? It's a deal. After talking about the white-feathered chickens, Chen Dao looked at Wu Han's stall and asked, Brother Wu, we plan to purchase some gray-feathered chickens today. How many do you have? 5 in total. Wu Han knew the number of his gray-feathered chickens by heart and immediately told the total number. 5 is too few. Chen Dao shook his head and said, Brother Wu, can you please help me and call all the chicken vendors here? No problem. Soon, Wu Han ran out and called all the stall owners on the street over, then said to Chen Dao, Brother Chen, I have called all the chicken vendors over, just tell me how many chickens you need. Chen Dao looked at these stall owners and noticed the expectant looks in their eyes. For these stall owners, recent times have been very difficult and they are naturally eager to sell some goods. However, Chen Dao did not immediately report the quantity he needed, but asked, Brother Wu, how much is the price of a gray-feathered chicken recently? 180 yuan. When Chen Dao heard this number, he immediately knew that the price of food in the city might have risen again, otherwise the price of live chickens would not have soared so quickly. Chen Dao turned around and discussed with Chen Da, then said to the chicken vendors, I plan to buy 50 gray-feathered chickens. At 150 coins per chicken, is this price acceptable to you? 50 PCS. This number instantly made the eyes of many chicken stall owners light up. In this year, it is rare to see customers buying 50 chickens at once. This, young master, a stall owner who looks to be about 50 years old looked at Chen Dao and said, Do you really want 50 chickens? Are you kidding us? Others also looked at Chen Dao with eager eyes. Although Chen Dao had lowered the price a lot, the number of 50 pieces still made them eager to buy. Why would I lie to you? Chen Dao said. He didn't want to buy gray-feathered chickens. The yellow-feathered chickens he raised at home reproduced so quickly and they were yellow-feathered as soon as they hatched. Chen Dao would be a fool to buy gray-feathered chickens and raise them from scratch. This batch of gray-feathered chickens was what Chen Dao wanted. Chen Dao planned to use all the 8 taels of silver he earned from selling the chickens to buy the gray-feathered chickens. 150 coins per chicken. If you can accept that, bring your own chickens here and I'll pay you. If not, just leave. As soon as Chen Dao said this, many stall owners immediately turned around and ran quickly to their stalls, bringing their gray-feathered chickens to Chen Dao. Sir, I have a total of 6 gray-feathered chickens here. Based on 150 coins per chicken, the total is 900 coins. A stall owner pointed at the gray-feathered chickens in the chicken cage and said in a flattering manner, Live poultry is not easy to sell in the entire East market these days, so if you come across such a big spending customer, you absolutely cannot miss it. Okay, Uncle Chen, give him the money. After Chen Dao took out 1 or 2 taels of silver and gave them to the stall owner left with a happy face. Seeing that Chen Dao paid so readily, other stall owners also took action and presented their chickens to Chen Dao. Sir, these are my chickens, 5 in total. These are mine, 4 in total. I have 10 of them. They cost 1.5 ounces of silver. The transaction went smoothly. With the money exchanged for the goods, within a quarter of an hour, most of Chen Da's 8 taels of silver had been spent. The 48 gray-feathered chickens that were purchased were also kept in chicken cages given by the stall owners and moved to the donkey cart by Chen Cheng and others. That's too many chickens. Shen Jiong looked at the gray-feathered chickens that kept clucking in the car, his eyes full of envy. He saw all the transactions between Chen Dao and those stall owners. He saw Chen Da take out 8 taels of silver to buy the gray-feathered chickens with his own eyes, and he was extremely envious of Chen Da's wealth. How much food can you buy with 8 taels of silver? If a family eats steamed buns every day, it will probably last them for a year or 2, right? Brother Wu, now that I've bought all the chickens, I'm leaving now. Don't forget our business. After buying the chicken, Chen Dao said goodbye to Wu Han and drove a donkey cart to the grain store in the East Market with Chen Da and others. Outside the grain store, the donkey cart had just stopped when Chen Dao saw a young man in brocade clothes walking out of the grain store, surrounded by several people who looked like guards. The young man glanced at Chen Dao and the others as well as the gray-feathered chickens that kept clucking in the car. A trace of contempt flashed across his face, but he didn't say anything. He just left in a leisurely manner surrounded by guards. Fuck. What kind of a person is this? Chen Jiang, who was more sensitive, couldn't help but curse. The young man in brocade clothes showed no disdain on his face, which made him extremely angry. P.S. I wish all readers a happy Mid-Autumn festival, and a happy family reunion.
Thanks for joining Fanfiction Reader. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe and come back for more fan-made adventures.